Right, can I call the regular meeting of council to order for Monday, March 3rd? Before I do approve of the agenda, I'd like to add an item, if council will allow it. The item I'd like to add would be under new business, that the District of Tumbler Ridge public statement to condemn all forms of racism, discrimination, and hate speech. Councillor Norbury for a second. Any discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Carried. That'll go under 9.9. No, I lied. 9.8. Schedule of meetings go to 9.9, and then notice motion will stay at 10. Okay, I'll take approval of the amended agenda. Councillor Noxana?
That the March 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as amended.
Seconder? Councillor Dussault? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of minutes for January 28th, 2025 budget meeting minutes. Take the recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That the January 28th, 2025 budget meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Julik. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for February 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Dussault.
That the February 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Norbury. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for February 4th, 2025 budget meeting of council. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the February 4th, 2025 budget meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Julik. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for February 5th, 2025 special meeting of council. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That the February 5th, 2025 special meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for February 10th, 2025 special meeting of council. Recommendation, please. Councillor Dussault.
That the February 10th, 2025 special meeting of council minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to delegations. Tumbler Ridge Library. Tumbler Ridge Library Board Chair Zachary Schoenberger and Board Treasurer Amber Bell invited by council to present and answer questions regarding the 2025 library budget. Good evening. Floor will be yours.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for inviting us here today. We got Trent, Vice Chair, with me in place of Amber, who wasn't able to make it. So we're just going to give you a quick update on how the library's been doing, what we've been up to, and a little commentary on the budget. Our services update for this past year is that we've continued to provide traditional library services, book lending, reference services, photocopying, etc. And the library has continued to offer a variety of additional services, including technology services like computer access, Wi-Fi access, technology, digital literacy support, employment onboarding and assistance with online forms. We've continued our usual programming, including very successful craft programs for children and teens, virtual book club, virtual reality, Itchy Feet, and many other programs. We've continued to offer social supports, exam invigilation, have had a few of those lately. We provide a public meeting space to the community that's free for everyone. And we've had many successful events over the past year. including the Welcome Baby Program, book sale, Holly Jolly was huge this year, Summer Reading Club, the Magician's Visit, my kid loved it, Winter Carnival, and the Craft Fair. So many thanks to the head librarian for her efforts toward securing and running all those programs and events. We've had some staffing updates over the past year. We lost two staff members in the previous year. Those positions were, the work for those positions were distributed across remaining staff, existing staff that were already there, and a raise was given to staff to account for their extra duties and for cost of living increase. There was no surplus funds created by these vacancies, and we have some vacancy currently which is being filled, and any funds that have come out of lost positions are being redistributed among staff and into that position as well. It looks like we should have the staffing we need to continue to operate as per usual in the library. This year's budget increase is a amount of 5.2%, which reflects the mandate as per given by the CAO and the Director of Finance. And it does allow us to continue the current level of service as we have in the past year. It doesn't fully address, well, it does. It meets all those requirements to continue as per usual. The library continues to make efforts to maintain a minimal budget. The library board works hard to ensure due diligence and that the spending is effective and efficient. The library's financial statements are, as usual, made available to council, and Sophie audits are available to the public. If there's any questions, we're very happy to hear them. Thank you again for inviting us.
Perfect. First off, before I open up to council, I want to take the opportunity to thank you guys very much for coming in and presenting to us. I think it was just a misstep. I think it's very, very important that we have the trustees come back in, the chair, at least keep council updated and stuff like that, and have that open discussion and dialogue. I mean, it's I see it in from the liaisons or the appointed people that sit at the library board on behalf of mayor and council. It was even mentioned in the notes there, awaiting to be to come forward as a delegation. So I appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Any questions from council? Councillor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to also say thank you for coming in and doing your presentation. I was just wondering if you could explain what exam invigilation is for those who may not understand what that is.
Yeah, wonderful, thank you. The library can, exam invigilation is when somebody needs to take an exam for a course that they're enrolled in, distance education or online in some way. And there's a kind of a proctored exam that needs to be taken by an individual. They can come to the library, and the library will basically watch them take the exam, make sure that there's no dishonesty, and will kind of certify for the exam. So it's a really good service if you're taking classes out of town, as many people are here. And the library receives no fee for service on that. It's just a contribution to the community.
Follow up, Councillor Dussault.
Not for that one, but I did have another question. In your budget, I didn't see anything. I'm just wondering if the community kitchen is getting up and going, or if there's funding for that.
Are you familiar with where we're at?
So that program is currently on hold. The person who was doing it is now gainfully employed, working at the front desk here. So doesn't really have the time to do it. There has been some looking for that. That is a community or program that's administered by the library, but isn't run through the library. So the library is basically just the conduit through which that program is offered. There is hopefully, we've been looking for places to run the program if it were to happen, for people to do. I think it's going to happen, but don't quote me on that quite yet.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Trent. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. Thanks for coming in, guys. Really appreciate hearing, what the library's been up to the last year. It's fun being in on the conversation for a change. I had a question regarding the 5% increase. Fully support it. But would you be able to tell us how much that would actually be going to the employees, minus the employer costs? I mean, and my only thought there is that, with the rising costs to the employer, wages aren't keeping up with inflation. I'm glad that you guys are doing something, but can you comment on that?
Yeah, I don't believe we can speak directly to the wage of the employees due to confidentiality. I believe that's my position on that. But I was going to respond to you. Yeah, it's mostly going to the federal government, unfortunately, and the province as well. But there is, they have all received, all of our employees have received some level of this funding, I believe, so.
Follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kalka, thank you. My question wasn't that our staff getting raises, excuse me. I just want to, put it in perspective, this 5% isn't, straight up, like a lot of it does go back to the provincial and federal government.
Yeah, a lot of it does. Yeah, majority of it, yeah.
Yeah, the other question I had is book costs. Do you know how much they've gone up the last few years? I know inflation's been quite high.
I don't have a number. I could ask the head librarian who does some ordering, if you don't mind. I could confer with them. Paula, do you know off the top of your head?
At least 5% increase.
5% increase.
And the prices, of course, are based on the states. So after tomorrow,
Who knows?
That's it for me. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Councilor Julik?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks. I went and talked to Paula and Zach on Friday and got some updates, some more information, and that was good. Now that I'm the liaison, it's about trying to figure out a way that we can work together and make sure we're all on the same page, because there's definitely some stuff that I found out in the meeting that somebody who used to work there should have probably known, but I didn't. So anyways, it was really interesting. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know that this is volunteer, and I do also want to say that I wanted to say thanks to the staff here at the district as they keep pushing out their the request for people to become trustees as part of the library board, and I think they've done a really good job trying to push that out there to the community, and hopefully we as council can maybe pique some people's interest, because I think it's a really I enjoyed my time as a trustee, so thank you again.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? I have a couple. Can you just give an overview of the virtual reality that within the library? Are you seeing an uptick or a downtick? Or would you know?
I personally wouldn't know because I'm not in the library, but I can defer.
I can go in and ask. It was just a question when you were going through your slides, and I was just curious if you're seeing it more of an uptick.
So I can answer that to some extent. I mean, there was definitely a down period during COVID when, it was really hard to do that. So from that point of view, it's definitely gone up. There were some technical issues that we seem to have overcome just in the last couple of months. So it is definitely extremely popular, especially with the kids. We've tried to encourage more of the adult users to come in, but kids. And not that the adults are being blocked by the kids. It's just that the kids just love it so much. So I don't actually have the bare facts. That's an operational question. So but I could. Those statistics are easy enough to gather.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. This will be operational too, but the board may be aware or at least have some information about it. And that was that Dolly Parton reading thing that came out last year. How'd that go for the library here in Tumbler?
It went pretty well. There was still. I can't tell you exactly, but let's say we were hoping for 200 kids and we got about 160. It wasn't those numbers aren't exact, but, you know, it was that we got 75 to 80% of the number of kids that we were hoping for. So it's definitely the kids who have signed up for it, or at least the parents of the kids who have signed up for it that I've heard from, which admittedly isn't that many, but have really appreciated the program though.
It's definitely filled out my kids' bookshelf.
Yeah.
It's been helpful.
Okay, and that's good to hear. Like, I mean, obviously, I've seen it. I mean, it was definitely advertised well. Seen it through the Canada Post as well, but also within the library. I was just curious. Like, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't have young children. I don't usually use the library too much. If anything, I go in there to bug previous staff to ask questions that are no longer there. So I mean, I'm not I do my reading through online. So the other question I would have in regards to the library as a whole, I believe you guys updated book checkout last year. How's that working?
Yeah, we installed an RFID project, so all the books basically can scan them at the front desk. I don't have usage statistics right now on hand as to how many people are being used, how much that's being used. But as soon as it's up and running, I heard of people using it to get out the door faster, and it makes sure we keep track of inventory a lot more effectively. And I think returning books, it simplifies a lot of processes, so it's really, I think it's been a success. It hasn't been the technical hassles that you often get with these kind of projects. You know, we haven't had to have anyone come back in or pay anyone for upkeep. So, you know, really happy, really happy with the outcome of that project. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I was curious on that one. And then the other one that really sticks out, I mean, obviously the welcome baby thing, I think it's a great thing that the library is doing. I don't think I'm not sure how many years it's been going on for, but I know when it was first started, there was quite the uptick to it. My other question would be the TD Reading Club. It seems like to be a fairly big hit within the communities for the youth and the children. It seems to be well participated by not just the children, but their families, so the parents are attending that. Is there anything else that can be done there to increase that? Do you know, from the board side?
Any thoughts?
I mean, the big thing with the summer reading club is that you know, again, I'm gonna toss out random figures that aren't exact, but let's say there's 200 kids in the school. You know, look at 140, 150, 160 kids signing up per year, which is a fairly large percentage of it. So that's a really promising. What has been the biggest issue over the last few years has been the fact that the hoops that you need to jump through to be able to get kids in there to assist with the program have become more plentiful and smaller, which you guys have run into that issue in the past. You know, in the last few years, it's becoming harder and harder to get those summer students in to help run the program, because, you know, if you have 50 people coming into the library across the day, but you got, you know, 5 people at 10 o'clock and 5 people at 11 o'clock and 5 people at 12 o'clock, you know, it's spread out. Whereas with the summer reading club at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, suddenly you have a horde of 50 kids descending on the library. So you really need to have those additional bodies in there to service it. So that's the biggest thing is if there's anything that staff can do, and I don't know, because I don't know how the summer student program works, but if there is some way that by getting a letter or something that the district can provide that would help us, you know, that would be great. Again, I don't deal with the specifics, that's an operational issue, but things like that, just to you know, maybe help push that through would be great. That seems to me to be the biggest issue facing the summer reading program right now.
Okay, and I appreciate that, Trent, especially when you talk about letter of support or whatever, but, you know, obviously a lot of it's dealt with through Zimmer's office. So I know I've previously dialogued with him in regards to obviously the jail park and the museum, and I apologize to the library not knowing where they stood, but I think, you know, that's something we can push from our side. I'll be honest, Mr. Zimmer will be in town on Saturday, coming up. It's a good time to be able to have a chat with him. I'll reach out to him, maybe, the board would be willing to sit down, maybe get numbers that you had previously, where you've seen the cuts, what you really need to be. You know, if you went from 10 to 4, but 8 would be the right number, or 7, maybe we hound them, if you guys are available. Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, again, thank you very much. Not just coming in tonight, but being volunteers, trustees on a board. You take a lot of heat sometimes, so we appreciate everything you're doing. So I wanted to make sure you guys know that your whole board, all the trustees.
Really appreciate
It's a
that.
big job, so appreciate everything, and obviously the budget. I mean, it's you did what you can do, so appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the Tumbler Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association. Trevor Cutler, President. Ashley Madison, Events Coordinator. TR Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association, and intends to present an update and answer questions from council on last year's show and to request funding for the 2025 event. Welcome. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to say thanks to the opportunity for being here with you guys this evening. We are truly excited to present our idea and vision, and we appreciate the time you set aside. With that said, let's dive in. You're on table comments. Next slide. Who we are. Pretty sure most of you know myself and Ashley, but we'll give a little recap here. Our association was reformed in 2014 with the vision of making snowmobiling in a beautiful backcountry great again. Over the years, we've worked to improve the experience for riders by replacing and installing new emergency shelters, as well as maintaining our current riding areas around Tumbler Ridge. Looking ahead, we have several exciting plans to further enhance our backcountry riding. These include new trail access to the Wolverine area, expanding the possibilities of snowmobiling in the scenic region. So we're looking at going through Canoosal Falls Road through Tent Fire. That's currently in with government right now. We're looking at building a new cabin at Bull Moose, Holsworth Meadows, whatever you guys want to call it. Providing a comfortable, welcoming space for riders to rest and enjoy the outdoors. And we're also looking at purchasing a second snowcat, a more reliable one, so that we can have one at Bull Moose and one at Core Lodge. These improvements are all part of our commitment to making Tumbler Ridge a top-tier snowmobiling destination. And then on the board up there, you can see our board of directors. Our board of directors is made up of 3 dedicated families with all shared visions and passions in making Tumbler Ridge a premier destination for snowmobile enthusiasts. We believe with our combined experience and commitment, we can transform this beautiful community into a hub for snowmobiling tourism, attracting visitors from all over and contributing to our local economy.
Oh, okay. So the 2024 overall, we are also proud to share that our 2024 show was a huge success. The event featured 4 45-minute shows starting Friday night and continuing into Saturday. Each show had attendance of approximately 100 to 150 people, bringing a total attendance for all performances to around 400. With the support of the district of the $14,700 and donations from the high school field made this event possible. One question that was asked after each show was, are they coming back again next year? Many others in-kind services were donated, as well as including fencing, porta potties, skid steers, and transportation of materials. That made this event even more special is that it was run on a mission by donation basis. And we were able to raise $2,000 and just over $2,000 in proceeds. These funds were used to purchase food from our Fresh Mart and donated entirely to our local food bank. Future support of our community and making a positive impact.
Okay, our benefits to the community. As we remain to grow our association in Tumbler Ridge as a destination for snowmobiling, we remain committed to grow a strong connection with the community. So we have 4 big ones up there. Community engagement. We aim to bring people together by organizing events like these and activities that allow residents and visitors to connect with the sport and one another. We believe in building a strong sense of community and creating a welcoming environment for everyone. Youth inspiration, this is a big one to us. Like, youth is what's up and coming. We are dedicated to inspiring the next generation of snowmobiling enthusiasts by providing opportunities for the youth to get involved. We hope to ignite their passions for the sport and while also teaching them the importance of outdoor recreation, teamwork, and most importantly, safety. Charitable support. Our association has always been committed to giving back to the community. We plan on continuing supporting local charities, initiatives, and organizations, ensuring the growth of snowmobiling benefits Tumbler Ridge as a whole. And our last one we got up here is positive publicity. Through our initiatives and projects, we aim to bring positive attention to Tumbler Ridge, showcasing its beauty and potential as a top destination for outdoor recreation. The more we share our story and success, the more we can attract visitors and opportunities to the area. These areas help focus and ensure our work has lasting and positive impact on both snowmobiling communities and Tumbler Ridge as a whole. So up above, we got our budget for 2025. We are asking Mayor and Council here for $10,000. We do have additional funds on top of that, which will be another $6,960, which we're looking at from local sponsorships. Our miscellaneous expenses, we're hoping that we can get that back in kind again this year, but that's not set in stone yet. And then our lunches will be provided through Backcountry Bandit, and our local photographer will be given in-kind services for photography so we can have awesome photos like these. We're still, we have secured dates with our riding crew and the use of the Tier Fairgrounds for August 22nd and 23rd of this year. If everything goes well, all these photos here are from Brunoso Photography. These are all current photos from our ride last year. And with that, we'd like to thank you guys for hearing our presentation. I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Mayor and Council for your time and consideration tonight. We're incredibly excited to bring back this event to Tumbler Ridge and a positive impact it can have on our community. With your support, it means the world to us, and we look forward to working together to make this vision a reality. Thank you once again, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thanks for, again, for coming in and filling us in and giving us an update. I think it's really, really important to get the update regards to last year's event, since it was the first event. So I think it's really, really important to have those updates. Councillor Noxena.
Thank you, and thanks for coming in. We were fortunate enough last year to get the first show, which I think was the best one from what I've heard. I'm wondering if going forward this year, is there any idea if you'll be charging an entrance fee to help make this event self-sufficient?
It is in the works this year. It has been in our talks. We haven't set it in stone yet, whether it's gonna be an admission base or if it's gonna be donation base yet, but we're still working on it.
Yeah, we're still, discussing and working on the final details.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Calc. I don't have a question, just a, well, maybe it's a question, but 3 families are are what's keeping the Ridge Riders together. Good for you guys. You know, thank you. I mean, I know when people are looking at our community, at what's out there, seeing what you guys are doing, what you're pushing out there, will move the needle for us in a larger regional, countrywide scale. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we push our hardest that we can, and I cannot leave Sherry Lynn out too. Chore has been a huge help to our association. Like, without her or Danielle helping us with her other half from the BCSF, like, we wouldn't be able to make.
We wouldn't be anywhere.
Okay, any other questions, council, comments? I have a few for you, sorry. Sled drags, and if we're doing it in 2025, and then can you give an update on your poker ride that just happened?
So the poker ride we just had on the February 22nd, and it went great. Attendance was a little down from last year, which was fine. But we still did really well. We had 52 riders show up. We sold close to 75 hands. The day turned out beautiful. It was great. We had lots of sponsors and donations for the event. And yeah, everybody was happy and left with smiles on their faces. So it was a big success. So.
And are you planning the sled drags? I know there's not much snow out there today, but there's snow on the weekend.
Yeah, we have called it this year that we're not doing the sled drags this year, just because
Yeah.
we have no snow.
Yeah, no, and I understand, and that's why I asked, because there's, people have been asking and stuff. I think it's important to get it out there earlier than late.
We were hoping to, but I don't, yeah.
Is there any opportunity to move the dates? Like, not for this year, but
It might be something we look at next year, because with these mild winters we've been having, it's March. It just keeps proving itself year and year. That by the time March hits, there's no snow on the ground unless you're way up in the backcountry, so.
okay. The last question, I guess, comment I want to make is, I think you had good attendance for your first event. Don't take me wrong. I think you guys did a great job. I did attend. I think it was well done by, obviously, the sledding organization, the families that were down there doing all the work. People seemed to enjoy themselves immensely. People had talked about how they actually went to all the shows. I know Dawes Creek is doing this event too. It's usually twice a year, once with monster trucks, and they just did it here. We're seeing about 2,000 or 2,500 people there. I think they advertise it, and I just noticed in your budget for advertising, there's not a dollar amount at all for advertising. Is that something you're doing off the side of the desk to try and get it out there within the region? So I talk regional, not just Tumbler Ridge, because we've seen 400 of our residents show up. Some families were from out of town, obviously, that were coming in to visit local families. But is there a way to maybe see an uptick if we were able to try to reach out to the regional part of the Peace River?
Once we get everything set in stone this year, depending on funding, I think we're gonna push a little harder to broaden it, whether we start buying some boost promotions off Facebook or talking to our local radio stations or something like that, just to get it out there, because if Dawson can have that kind of attendance, there's no reason why we couldn't, and we're looking at trying to go bigger this year too, with bringing in multiple food trucks and stuff like that. Like, we're gonna be working with TR Fairgrounds on that, so, and that place is beautiful to use too, so.
Cool. And I guess I'm a little bit different than one of the counselors that asked about, if you're gonna charge for the event or whatever. I think it was really important to me that it was by donation. Some people can't maybe afford to go to an event like that, and to me, you allowed all to come to this event, and I think that was really, really important within the community. But I also think it's really, really important regionally. Not everybody can afford a $20 ticket to see that event. I mean, obviously where you had it there, anybody could have watched it from the road if you really wanted to, but I think that was really, really important. And I understand where Councilor Knoxana is coming from. Like, is this something we're looking to support year after year after year? Or is this something that if you were to whether it's a corporate sponsorship program you put into play or something that kind of offsets the DTR getting involved? But I think it was really, really important. That's one comment I'll make. I think it was really, really important that all could attend, even if you couldn't afford it. I think it was really important. Councilor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I also want to thank you for coming in. And also with funding, I wanted to put out there that NDIT does have a Festivals and Carnival grant up to $25,000. So if you're also looking for more funding, maybe reach out to them as well and see what they could provide you.
Good comment.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? All right, again, thank you very, very much for coming in, and giving us an update. I think it's really, really important when we give grant and aids that we hear back on how the event was, successful, non-successful, what you can do different to make it better. But thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, Peace River Regional District, Ashley Murphy, General Manager of Development Services. Assuming John's not here. Ecoplan International to present information and updates on regional growth strategy project and share the next steps about the project and provide council the opportunity to ask questions. Ashley, floor is yours. 9 minutes.
Countdown clock. Thank you so much, Mayor and Council, for having me here today. I am absolutely thrilled to be here presenting again on the update for our regional growth strategy project. Next slide, please. So we're going to go back in time a little bit, give a project overview and how we got to today. And then we're going to talk about the draft strategy, which your staff has so graciously put as a for information report later on in the agenda. And then we're going to speak a little bit about implementation and adoption. Next slide, and next slide, please. So again, regional growth strategies are enabled by the Local Government Act. They're largely left up to each regional district to kind of determine the format of them, but they do have to contain population projections, job and employment forecasts, and cover a 20-year time frame. They are intended to help guide long-term region-wide growth management and planning, and support a more coordinated region-wide planning. Next slide, please. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the District of Tumbler Ridge and their staff for their participation throughout this project. So you had staff participate in our steering committee, and our steering committee was made up of representatives from each of the member municipalities, as well as provincial agencies such as Ministry of Transportation and Transit, Northern Health, Ministry of Agriculture. We also invited all First Nations throughout the region to participate in the project, with Doig River having a member of staff attend and sit on the steering committee. So we met a ton of times, 5 times throughout this kind of project to help guide the direction and support RGS engagement and outreach. So again, big thanks to your staff. This would not have been possible without all of that support and input. Next slide, please. So where are we at? We are in the final phase of the growth strategy. Next stage, or next slide, please. So again, the RGS approach was really a mixture of the steering committee, board, and staff direction, as well as a ton of public engagement, which we will talk about. Next slide. So we had 2 separate large rounds of engagement. We did surveys, we did in-person round the region tours, we had open houses in almost every community. We attended the Chetwynd Chainsaw Carving Festival, the Fort St. John Farmers Market. We did postcards and radio ads, and next slide, please. And so up here is kind of a snapshot of the engagement to date. So over 4,500 postcards were mailed out, or 4,400, sorry, 1,800 visits and counting to the project's Have Your Say page. Again, radio ads, newspaper ads, in-person surveys. It was a lot, and it was great to get out into community and actually speak with residents and hear what was important to them. Next slide, please. And next slide. So the regional growth strategy is set out very similar to what you would typically see most local government documents looking like, especially an official community plan or something of that nature. So we've got, our table of contents, we've got the goal areas, and then supporting actions and policies. Next slide. So the RGS has a section on population and job forecasts. This was more detailed information was provided in the regional profile, which was released last year and is available on the project's Have Your Say page. So next slide, please. Based on the population growth estimates, our high growth estimate is 1.1% over the next 20 years, which equates to roughly 19,000 persons. We anticipate that most of that growth will be accommodated in the existing urban municipalities' boundaries. And so that was done based on a review that the consultants, I'm not going to take credit for that review, the consultants did very early on, reviewing everyone's official community plans, strategic plans, other relevant documents. And so based on the existing land that's designated for residential purposes, that's where we're, pretty confident that most of that growth will be absorbed within the municipalities. And that's then reflected in the policies within the RGS itself. Next slide. So we pilfered this vision from the regional board strategic plan, and then through each round of engagement, it was further refined based on feedback from the public. Next slide. So the RGS is set around 9 policy goal areas developed through the community outreach and engagement. They're all somewhat interconnected and support each other in some way. They are supported by a series of policy objectives and then specific policies underneath there. Next slide. So this is kind of how they're broken down. We've got a description of the topic area, providing a little bit of a background, and then there's the policy objectives, which are the numbers underneath, and then the letters are the actual policies themselves. So consistently throughout engagement, we continually heard that regional economy, agriculture, community health, and living well were ranked top priorities amongst our residents. Next slide, please. So general policy types, and you'll see this more in detail towards the end of the presentation, are PRD focused policies. So that means for the regional district to kind of action and undertake or lead. Joint and collective advocacy policies, so representing the region at the provincial level. And then collaborative PRD-led projects, again, which you'll see in the implementations. Some policies, again, do appear in more than one section, and that's because they are all interrelated and can support each other. Next slide, please. So let's go through a couple of our top areas. So community building, our policy is encourage and support growth in urban centers. So support growth in smaller urban centers such as the District of Tumbler Ridge that is within their official community plans established development capacities, and work collaboratively with member municipalities on fringe area planning through PRD OCP updates. Next slide, please. Next policy item is protect the character of rural areas. We also heard this was very important to our residents. So identify and engage with rural communities to determine if there's areas that are suitable to maybe accommodate a higher level of growth. And then ensuring that that growth takes into consideration potential future servicing needs and the cost implications associated with that. So an example would be the community of Presbyterian north of Fort St. John is actually one of our fastest growing rural areas. And so we know that there is a desire of that community to be able to have and accommodate additional growth. So further work needs to be done to determine what that looks like. Next slide, please. Economic strength. Again, this was consistently ranked a high priority for residents. So support a diversified regional economy, explore the development of a regional employment land strategy. This is sometimes referred to, you'll see them as like industrial land strategy, but employment lands usually means a combination of industrial lands and commercial lands together. Consider the development of a regional economic development strategy through a collaborative process involving the PRD member municipalities, economic development stakeholders, industry groups, and First Nations who may be interested in participating. And as I'm sure you're all well aware, we did formerly have an economic development function at the regional district, but we do not currently. So this is kind of that push to reinvigorate and reinvestigate that process at the regional district. Next slide, please. So again, agriculture and food, top ranking. So support local agriculture and related businesses. So develop a regional agricultural strategy and work with member municipalities to advocate to the Ministry of Agriculture to protect ag land within the rural areas while recognizing the needs of the urban development within municipalities. And so one of the things that we heard quite a bit through our steering committee meetings and through staff from the different municipalities was that lands within a municipality that are within the ALR, sometimes those municipalities are really struggling to be able to designate those lands for future growth and development. The ALC, they want to keep ag land for ag. So how can we support identifying that? We're going to protect the ag land and keep it for sure in the regional district, but we also need to support a level of growth within our urban counterparts to be able to do that. Next slide, please. So living well. Collaborate for safe, healthy, and active communities across the PRD. So work with the Ministry of Transportation and member municipalities on a regional transportation master plan. So again, we heard lots around transportation, lack of access to rail, Taylor Bridge, conditions of rural roads, conditions of highways. So is there an opportunity that we can look to kind of leverage our collective voices for the betterment of transportation throughout the region? 3, enhance community well-being. So work with PRD member municipalities, nonprofit housing providers, and other housing development partners to develop a regional housing plan. So as, again, I'm sure you're well aware, this year we had to have the interim housing needs report done for January 1st, 2025. And then again in 2028, we need to do a full update of the housing needs report. So I'll be in contact with your staff over in about the next year and a half to start coming up with a game plan for that. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. So as I alluded to, most of the actions in this document are for us at the regional district to undertake. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to require significant collaboration and support from member municipalities, but we recognize that this is the first regional growth strategy in the region, and so we really wanted to act as the champions of this process. And so we've kind of broken them down into 2 sections. 1 to 4 years is the goal for some of these, and some of these are actually somewhat underway already. So the regional district was successful in obtaining a grant through the DRRCA funding stream, Disaster Risk Resilience Climate Action. It's an acronym, and that I can never seem to get exactly right. But that's where the Regional Natural Hazard and Climate Risk Assessment Project comes in. So that one's kind of already in motion, as well as the Rural Settlement Center study and Lakeshore Development. Those will be addressed as we move forward in updating our official community plans and other documents. Next slide, please. So what does this mean for member municipalities? So under the Local Government Act, member municipalities need to incorporate a regional context statement into their official community plans within 2 years of this RGS being adopted by the regional board. So there's guidance. We have provided some examples and templates to each of the member municipalities and your staff that sits on the steering committee for review and consideration, and then they will draft those up and I'm sure send them off to you for review, and then it will come to the regional board for formal ratification. Next slide, please. And so I cannot stress enough, this document is not intended to be something that just goes and sits on a shelf. This document is intended to be actioned. So that's why as part of it, we do have an implementation and a monitoring plan. And part of that will require that we do an annual report every year to update on the progress and status of the document and what we're doing well or maybe not so well. And the data, we have different indicators that we'll be using, such as population, job, employment, and that sort of thing. Next slide, please. So, timeline. March 20th, we are going to be taking the draft regional growth strategy forward to the regional board for first and second readings. And then we are looking to schedule the public hearing for April 10th. I'm just waiting to absolutely hammer that down with our corporate officer, hopefully this week. And then After April 10th is the formal referral period where the document will be referred to each of the member municipalities as well as adjacent regional districts and the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs for formal resolution. So that will be, you'll have 60 days from April 10th to provide a resolution either in support or not of the regional growth strategy. And then, if everything goes well and everyone provides support, we're hopeful that we'll be able to adopt the strategy on June 19th. And next slide, and that is the end of my presentation.
All right, well, thanks very much, Ashley, for the presentation and the update. Any questions from council? All right, getting off easy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Drive safe. All right, moving on to consent agenda, 7.1, recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury,
That all items in the March 3rd, 2025 consent agenda be moved for information.
seconder. Councilor Oksana, all in favor? Carried. Are there any items that council would like to bring forward for discussion? Councilor Julik.
I would like to bring 7.2, please.
For discussion, seconder? I'll second that. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Julik.
It was something I looked at and was really interested in. It was just too short a notice for me to be able to make that work. So I would love if staff could put that on their radar, like I know they put on other other conferences to make sure that we don't miss the boat. I know that this council tends to be a little bit more active in going to a few different conferences. This one really piqued my interest. So I won't be able to attend this year, but I would certainly hope to be able to maybe next year.
Ms. Scott, would you need a motion for staff to keep this on the radar so we have a little bit more of an advance notice for our calendars?
No, I don't need a motion for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Councilor Oksana.
7.6 for discussion.
Councilor Dussault, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councilor Oksana?
Thank you. I'm wondering if we should ask P&G to come back as a delegation. In their letter here, it says that they lack sufficient confidence in its future gas supply to justify the proposed investment in Tumbler Ridge gas plant at present. And I'd really like to ask them specifically what that means, because I think we all heat our house with gas and it gets cold in the winter.
Yeah, we can ask for them to come as a presentation. I think this is the one, when they mentioned it, the last presentation, that they were suspending the move ahead in regards to looking at doing the big reno out at their plant, as there was something in the works. And I think something in the works has come through it. I don't think the announcement has happened. Okay. So it sounds like, my understanding when I read it, is what they were working with another organization or company has maybe come through, that they do not need to spend that 4.5 million, I believe it was, on the plant upgrade. But we can definitely invite them back. Let's put a motion on the floor.
I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we ask P&G to come back as a delegation.
Okay, seconder? I'll second that. Any discussion on the motion? Call the question, all in favor? Motion carries. Any other items council like to bring forward? Councillor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, 7.7.
Discussion, I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, when I was in talking with the CAO today for agenda review, I had asked her what it cost us the last time to have the ice extension. And seeing this wasn't their fault, it, was faulty with the community center, I would be more in favor than extending the ice time if that is so council's wish.
Yep. Do you have the cost with you or just staff?
The cost, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, the cost that I did get from the CAO was approximately $7,000.
Okay, thank you. You just need to put a motion on the floor. Before you do that, Ms. Scott, do we have a date? I'm not sure, I was asked the same question. So I did receive a phone call and emails from minor hockey just before I'd left for vacation. And I tried my best to try to, obviously let Ms. Scott know about it, but I also tried reaching out to other municipalities to see if they had some open ice time that we could get used and then look at that. But was there a date picked by staff working with minor hockey that they'd like to see it left into?
Yeah, as you'll see in the letter that was submitted by minor hockey, they haven't put in a specific time frame that they're asking for. But staff believes it approximately 2 weeks is what they were looking for. So the ice would normally come out on March 31st. And staff in conjunction or in discussions with the Minor Hockey Association are proposing that April 13th would be the new day that the ice would come out.
Thank you. Councillor Dussault, if you want to make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion that we extend the ice time for the Minor Hockey Association until April 13th.
Okay, thank you. Seconder on the motion. Councillor Julich, discussion. Councillor Julich.
So I guess my question would be, I just wanted to make sure that they would be using the ice. I was at a hockey game this weekend, and it was their last game. It was for U13. While I appreciate that they haven't got to use the ice as much as they would like to, is there, like, I guess for me, I would like to confirm that that ice would be being used then. I know at the time it feels like you're really missing out. And then all of a sudden the hockey season's over and all the parents are grateful to have a night at home and a weekend where they don't have to drive. So that's my only concern with extending it. I know that we made some concessions for the possible midget team last year and it sounded like it didn't get used as much as we had anticipated either. So the $7,000 I would rather put towards something else next year if there isn't a fairly strong feeling that the ice will be used for those 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I know the motion says for minor hockey, but the ice would be left in for all. So whether that is figure skating, minor hockey, senior hockey, public skating, all it is just being left in for people to rent the ice or whatever it may be. I did ask the question to Ms. Scott as well, were they planning another tournament, whatever, and she talked about that they were looking at trying to line up some games, but Ms. Scott?
Yes, I don't believe they're planning on trying to host another tournament for the tournament that was canceled. They are trying to schedule some additional games. But some of the teams also have some tournaments later in April that they are hoping to still get that practice time to prepare for as well.
Thank you.
Cool.
Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Cutler. I was just going to say I'm in full support. I mean, they lost. It's not due to our fault. They lost their ice time. We should absolutely make it right and make up for that. So I'd be in support of doing 2 weeks. Thanks for making the motion, Councilor Dussault.
Yeah, thank you. Any discussion from council? I support the motion as well. I think it's great to, if we have an opportunity to be able to leave it in, it's being left in for all to use, whether that's public skating during spring break or whatever it may be, but 100% support it. Going to call the question, all in favor? Carried. Are there any other items council would like to bring forward? I'd like to bring forward 7.8 for discussion. Seconder, Councilor Norbury, all in favor? Carried. This has been circulated around. I've already been asked to attend. I will be attending. This is an opportunity for all council to attend. So it's the Hope Truck fundraiser. It was started with IMW, West Moberly First Nations, and it's going to be a haul truck. Box is going to be painted, and there's donations that people can make per load. With all the money being split equally between Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, West Moberly First Nations, and Soto First Nations. So this will go from the end of March to the beginning of September. And then all the funds that are raised will be split, and I know staff is working right now with Marilyn in regards to making sure that the funds that we would receive, that there's certain qualifications that we have to use it for. At first, they talked about trying to put a board together and people would apply through the board. It just, the time got away on the group, so this is how they're doing it. So if anybody else from council would like to attend, please send me an email as well as Ms. Scott, just so we can give numbers. It will be out at Quintet Cole, just past the security gates. Okay, any questions, concerns? Okay. Any other items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Counselor Dussault?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to bring forward 7.11.
Okay, for discussion, seconder. Counselor Noxana, all in favor? Carried. Counselor Dussault?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would just like to invite or remind our residents that on this Saturday, March the 8th, is the Inland Sea Party up at the museum. They still have tickets available, and it is held up at the museum starting at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Any other items council would like to bring forward? I'd like to bring 7.9 for discussion. Councilor Norbury, all in favor? Carried. Sorry, I was going to flip through so I didn't find it all here. I would think that it's on April 26th, so it's a volunteer appreciation brunch, April 26th, 2025 at 11 a.m. We talk about, in my opinion, as elected officials, how important volunteerism is to our community, to us as elected officials and such. I would, hopefully we can all put this in our calendars to attend. I think it's very, very important that we're there. We just heard from the library board trustees and chair, the amount of hours, it didn't talk about it, but the amount of hours they obviously volunteer. We just heard from the TR sledding group as well. So I think it's very, very important that we try to make ourselves available if we can. Do we need a number, Ms. Scott, in regards to who's attending from council?
No, we don't need a number. They are looking for confirmation that the mayor will be making a speech. But no, we don't need confirmation of numbers.
Okay, thank you. And just so everybody knows, it sounds like March 8th is a very, very busy day because we also have the skating carnival is happening in Tumbler at the ice rink. Tora is doing Winterfest. And Councillor Dussault has already mentioned about the Inland Sea Beach Party. So it's a very, very busy weekend. So maybe we can all communicate on via emails. Maybe we can try to make sure we're at some of these events as a group or separate. Okay. Councillor Gillick.
I just wondered if there was a possibility to put town council to work at the volunteer brunch thing. You can put me on a list to do cooking or whatever.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to bylaws, zoning bylaw number 747, 2025, first reading. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding the zoning bylaw number 747, 2025, first reading. Recommendation, please, Councillor Noxana.
The council gives first reading to the District of Tumbler Ridge zoning bylaw number 747, 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Pardon me. New business, draft regional growth strategy. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Director of Economic and Community Development regarding the draft regional growth strategy. Recommendation. Councilor Norbury.
That council receives this report for information.
Seconder. Councilor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 9.2, April 2025 by-election planning and elections budget. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding April 2025 by-election planning and elections budget. Recommendations one at a time, please. Councillor Noxana.
The council approves adding $20,000 for election in council's budget for the 2025-2029 five-year financial plan to cover costs associated with running by-elections in 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Second recommendation, Councillor Noxana.
That council pre-approves expending up to $10,000 for all costs associated with running the April 2025 by-election for one councillor prior to the adoption of the 2025-2029 financial plan.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. 9.3, 2025 deferred fee for service and grant and aid applications. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the deferred fee for service and grant and aid applications. Take recommendation one at a time, please. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. That council approved the Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association's grant and aid request of $10,000 for FMX show in Tumbler Ridge.
Seconder, Counselor Noxana. Discussion. Counselor Julick.
I really, coming into the meeting, I had a pretty good idea where I was gonna go, and I appreciated your comments, Mayor Kakalka, about making the show accessible for everybody. Because we've done it last year, I feel that that was the step that Ridge Riders needed to build an audience or show how great this show was. I would be more inclined to support the $10,000 in some of the improvements that they talked about in, like that President Cutler made in his speech about doing some different cabins and such like that. While I believe that while the community benefits from the free shows, the real winner really is the stunt performers. I appreciate that, again, that we've got some people in the community that get to watch it. I think, though, in the end, that money can be better spent. I think that there's a lot of our residents that would be willing to pay for such an event. And I appreciated listening to them and was glad to hear that they talked about doing a food truck and stuff like that to maybe make some money there. I just feel like there's also grants that they could have went out to get to put on such a show. And again, so a safety program or developing some maps or a youth program, having snowmobiles out there where a youth can actually give a go to ride a snowmobile, that kind of thing. I'd be more inclined to want to donate the money to that. So I will be voting against this grant need.
Thank you. Counselor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. The reason why I put the motion on the floor and I support and why I support it is that we saw what little of this little amount of funding can do for a community. We had 400 people come to this event. One thing that I know about our community is that we really are lacking, opportunity to witness some different types of sporting events that larger communities might have access to because they can turn it into a profit or a revenue generating thing through, say, the Eventive Center or what have you. So, we need to create these opportunities within our own community, and we got to pay for them, right? Like I know myself when I went to high school, dirt biking and snowmobiling was an actual opportunity outside of, just recreation. Like there were other competitions you can go into. It can lead later in life, and I think we should be trying to cultivate that culture in our community, that this is an option for you. Look what these guys are doing. It's fun. So yeah, I'm in support. Thanks.
Thanks. Counselor Noxana.
Thank you. I've definitely waffled back and forth on this, but am in favor of the motion on the floor. I would like to see it become self-sufficient in the future, but I think that it's important to have events like this to show our youth what an amazing community it is. We always talk about these kids that go to university and move away and they don't come back. We need teachers, we need doctors, we need nurses, we need people to come open businesses. So if these youth now are in university thinking of all the great opportunities their town had, why wouldn't they want to raise a family here? It's amazing. And if these are just a few dollars that we can give to show even kids outside our community how amazing it would be to come back and raise your family, then I think it's probably money well spent.
Thank you. Counselor Julick.
So I guess hearing from Counselor Norbury and Counselor Noxana, the difference for me is this is watching. I would rather give money that would allow them to participate. And participate in something that is, I'm not saying that you can't dream to be that FMX person doing the bikes and the snowmobiles. That's a fairly small niche. If we were able to present them with the opportunity to actually get on a snowmobile and have that, whether that was to ride around the yard or whatever like that. So for me, it's about the participation of. I absolutely hear what you guys are saying, and for me, I just can't be pushed over that line for that, but I appreciate what you say, because it made me waffle one more time.
Thanks. Okay, I got myself and then Counselor Hoffman. I support it. I think it, Yeah, you know, you think when they come forward the first year that maybe, okay, they'll, but it, you know, it's, you gotta break the ground first, you know, and I look at other organizations, I mean, you know, some look for grant aids or fee for services and such like that, but they try all these programs, and not all of them will actually pay for themselves, but when I watch the young youth and the children down there, and when we say not interactive, they may not have been on the dirt bikes or the sled, but their hands were through the fence, you know, giving the high fives to the riders. I think that was participation in regards to it. I think, you know, listening to the delegation, they're talking about adding things, trying to get it bigger. You know, they haven't decided they're going to charge yet. And, you know, maybe that's the slow growing thing of when do you charge or not charge. And, you know, they talk about maybe looking at a better way of advertising to actually bring other regional residents into Tumbler Ridge. Or even people that are traveling down the highway as tourists that are going somewhere else and all of a sudden see some signage. And, you know, that's another thing maybe we can partake in is trying to assist in regards to advertising and such like that. So it gets out there within the regional area as well. Because, I mean, you know, I think they had a great showing at 400 people total. They fair somewhere in there, 400 or 500 people. I think you're going to see double that this year because it's going to get out there. This was, you're right there. You're right at the front. Like there's no sitting up in the bleachers and the jumps out in the middle. You're sitting right there. I mean, I support it. I think it's great for our community. It's great for our children, and it's great for the youth. I believe it's great for us adults, seniors. I think it's a great opportunity. Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Milbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I know the answer, but I better ask the question to be sure. I just want to confirm that currently that they meet the eligibility requirements that we had concerns for last month.
Yeah, I'll go back to staff, but the reason we did defer this is because their financials came in at the last, on the Monday morning. But Ms. Scott, CFO, has had an opportunity to look through the documentation. It must meet our criteria or it would not be in our agenda.
I have not reviewed it. I can defer that question to the Director of Finance to make sure she has a chance to fully read and digest the financial information that they have provided.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, I reviewed the paperwork and it's all in order.
Thank you very much for that. Good there, follow up? Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, the motion on the floor is the council approve the Ridge Riders Snowmobile Association grant and aid request of $10,000 for FMX show in Tumbler Ridge. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Julik is opposed. Motion carries. Second recommendation. I'll put it on the floor. The council approve a 3-year fee-for-service application for the TRU Service Society. Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Councillor Julik.
Sorry. Unfortunately, I can't vote in support of a 3-year service agreement. I looked at the report. Youth Services Society was not in compliance with their reporting. They didn't report after Q1 and were, so they were delinquent on those reports. That was something we discussed last year when we talked about their fee-for-service agreement. We also talked about, or I know I specifically talked about the availability of grants and that I had not seen any action or movement with that society looking for those pieces to help fund their operations, and I haven't seen anything again this year. So I would like to hear from the rest of council. I'm willing to make a motion to change it to 1 year. I might not be in the majority though. I'm willing to do 1 more year with some strong communication, and I am the liaison for that group, to say like we need more from you if we're going to continue to support it as we continue to look at cutting our budgets and making sure that we're in line. We're really fortunate at this time to be in a place where we can support some of these things, but at what time when we are not able to have the surpluses and the revenues to be able to support it, what then? So to me, I think it's also our job, while we support these societies and the volunteers in our community, we also need to do the job of helping them become self-sufficient. So I'm willing to make a motion to support it for 1 year, but I won't be supporting the 3-year fee for
You make an
service.
amendment if you wish.
I would like to amend the motion on the floor to approve a 1-year fee for service for the TR Youth Services Society.
Okay. So I make sure staff's captured that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so discussion on the amendment. Any discussion? No. Oh, yeah, I do. Sorry, thank you. Second, Councillor Noxana. Sorry, thank you. But just before I go to Councillor Norbury and Councillor Noxana, Ms. Scott, can you tell us if they meet requirements? It was brought up by Councillor Jewett that they don't meet the requirements, but I've read through this. So does it meet the requirements in regards to the fee for service?
So again, I will ask the Director of Finance to answer that question.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Councillor Julich is correct that they did not do the reporting on time, and that we didn't receive it for 3 quarters. We did receive it recently for all 3 quarters caught up now, so we have received the reporting for last year, but it was not done throughout the year. And the same with the financial reporting wasn't received on time, but what we have received is in place. I do notice that the district is the primary funder of this, so the grant funding that's provided pretty much pays for the program, so that would make this a related party situation.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Scott, I just want to confirm that that paperwork is within our agenda tonight. With them meeting the requirements, it sounds like it just came in. Did it just come in today? Did it just come in on Friday?
The paperwork was received on the last regular, which minutes are those? The last regular meeting of council when we discussed the grant and aid fee for service applications. We received it that day.
That day, okay. That's what I remember from the deferral. That's why we deferred it. Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury and then Councillor Noxana.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'm more in favor of the 3-year service agreement. It is very challenging for organization to operate year to year. Giving them some operational security can allow them to start planning on regularly occurring events versus, well, we don't know what's going to be here next year. I think that'd be a hard thing to relate to our community. I think back to what's like the tariff stuff that's been stringing us along, right? Are we stringing them along? I don't like that feeling. So I want to give them security so they can focus on just doing good work down there. So, yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Councillor Noxana and then Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. We're hearing that this organization is not in compliance with the rules set out for them to receive this funding. So I am in favor of giving them funding for 1 year so that they can work on maybe getting some policies and procedures in place for proper reporting. And then hopefully next year we can look at a 3-year funding agreement.
Okay, I just want to get clarity. My understanding from staff just a few minutes ago is they are in compliance. Yes, the compliance came late. It came the day of the meeting. That's why it was deferred to the next regular council meeting. So are they in compliance or not in compliance?
They are now up to date and in compliance. The way the wording is written in the funding agreements is that we are to receive quarterly updates. We did not receive quarterly updates, but we do have all of the reporting now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Noxana. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to see this one under threat over filing on the last day. We did this last year. We said 1 year. The youth center runs a certain way, and it's run that way for years, and I don't see any reason why it's going to change. If we want to be a little tighter on compliance, okay, I think we can stipulate that and perhaps give them a reminder, but I don't think this is in question what we get for our dollars every year. And from my experience with the place, I think it's great for the kids. And what we're basically doing is saying we're going to put you under threat again for a year. And I didn't think it was necessary last year. I definitely don't think it's necessary this year. They did what we asked. They had a meeting, they had some discussions, and they didn't go anywhere. There's questions of liability between their trustee over that room and what was going on there and what the community center had going, and they tended to fizzle out for trying to do more outside that, but they did try. Even if it doesn't change at all, I want this program to continue for the youth of our district. So I am in support of the 3-year. I don't think it's fair to them to do another 1 year and go through this process again. especially with, I don't see anything that needs to majorly change except those quarterly reports. I think we can just do a gentle reminder. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Julick and then myself.
And I guess I would just like to clarify for Councillor, I would like to clarify my position in that it's about not following the rules. It's about being late on 3 reports, which is part of your agreement in the fee-for-service. So if they want us to follow our piece, then they need to follow theirs, and that hasn't happened. The other thing last year that we talked about specifically was the ability for them to go out to look for other grant funding. And nowhere in the reports from the minutes or anything like that did I see that. I did see that they were not willing any further to do the movie nights with the district, which was something that was brought in to help offset some of the costs for the district. I understand the movie nights maybe are not happening anymore. To me, it's those pieces like that. So the movie night's not happening, but there hasn't been anything moved to replace that. The idea with the movie nights was to give those kids at the youth center a way to build some marketable skills so that when they did go look for a job, they were easily in a position where they didn't have to get hired. They just got to create those skills as part of the youth center. So for me, it wasn't just the fact that they were not on time with their financial reports. They also have not done any looking for grants, which I remember specifically talking about, nor have I seen any increase in the activities that are done.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess my comments would be, like, we seem like we're stuck on this quarterly report. It's been mentioned a few times. Some are gained, some are held to it. My understanding and the way this works, to me, we don't release all the funds at once. They come out quarterly. So if they don't have the report, why are we releasing funds? That would be my first question. If they don't meet the criteria, why do we release the funds? Like, to me, that's my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong with the youth center. I mean, I don't want to use another organization as an example, but I know there's another organization that, sometimes they have to connect with us because they still haven't received their funds, but they're totally up to compliance. So can we get that on that? Is this one lump sum to the youth center? Is it paid out quarterly? And if it's, I just need that for my debate.
So that is another question I'll ask the Director of Finance to provide clarification on when this organization receives its payments through the fee-for-service agreement.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That was part of the clarifying that we did in the new update to the fee-for-service and grant and aid policy, so that these payments will not go out in future without receiving the paperwork first. And we did hold the last payment, which was as per the policy originally. So they did not receive the final quarter payment until such time as we did receive the reporting in, which is what we got that day.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarity. I think that's very, very important information for us to have. It sounds like we have fixed a possible concern in regards to being compliant, that if they're not compliant, they're not going to receive the funds. I cannot support, last year, we started talking in regards that we wanted them to do this and we want them to do that. If we want them to do that, I'm not sure if council wants to take on the Youth Service Society as a councillor, as elected official, which I want no part of. But to me, we have volunteers and we complain about volunteers being burnt out. We don't have enough volunteers. And we're going to dictate to volunteers that you must go and apply for grants. You must go and do that. Ms. Scott, can you tell me, do we have a grant writer that's not at capacity? She's not taking any more grants on at this point?
I currently am not sure of the status of the grant writers. I know we were waiting for confirmation of funding for 2025, and I do not know where we're at with that.
Okay, and I appreciate that. So I know I was reached by a few organizations in the community that talked about them reaching out to the grant writer. And no disrespect to them, I think they were great. Some of the information I've heard is people are very, very happy with the organization that was hired to do grant writing. But once they hit their mandate, they're not available. And there's more than one organization in town that has contacted individuals, but they were at capacity, so they weren't allowed to take on any more workload because they were already past their funds. So did the youth center reach out? I don't know. I'm going to say they did, and they were told that she was at capacity. I don't know that for sure because I don't have youth. I think that when we sit around this council and we've talked about it at our strategic planning about youth was ranked very, very high in strategic planning over at the bottom of the Vic Center in the basement by all of council and senior staff. I can't support it 1 year. I think we need to, it sounds like we have a fix in regards to compliance on quarterly reporting. Again, volunteer, I understand they have a paid employee, but, you don't get paid for, she probably volunteers a lot too. I don't personally know her, but I just can't support the yearly. I think we need to, I mean, it seems like staff has figured out the way of fixing, the compliance part. If they don't submit the quarterly report, they wouldn't be issued funds. It sounds like it's already happened. So I won't support the amendment. I got Councillor Norbury, then Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Just in regards to the quarterly report, this may have been in the policy, but it has not been enforced up until this date. I know that my time in council and working as an organization that is majority municipally funded, this was never asked for. So I think it's reasonable to extend a little bit of grace in these organizations with this new change. Maybe it's always been in policy, but realistically, to these organizations, this is the first time this has ever been asked of them. And, you know, a little bit of grace there is, I think, warranted, right? Okay, you know, now we know. Let's get on track here. And realistically, these policies, these procedures, they're changeable. If it's not working for the organizations and it's not working for the district, then we can always change it. I'm not saying that we should. I think it's a great idea that we get these reports. But, you know, how much more burden are we putting on these organizations? Like, I'd be happy with the once a year update. This is what we're doing, because now we're asking an organization that operates as a youth services society now to be, how much time are we asking them to grant writing? Okay, so now we have X% less to our youth. How much are we adding on for administrative burden? Okay, now we have less time for our youth, because who's writing this stuff, right? It's coming from their employee, who is either, you know, volunteering time at their home, getting paid at home, or they're doing it while they're on the floor with the youth, and it's taking away from their access to a leader. I know that when I used to go to the YMCA BC in Kamloops and I think it was YMCA, but we called it Newput and Williams Lake. And those leaders are your heroes and champions when you go out. You're looking for those people. And if they're heads down, filling out paperwork, they're engaging with you and being a good role model leader for you. So, you know, I can appreciate that we want them to do more, but I want them to do more with our youth. Less burden that we're putting on them. I want our youth to have somebody there. So thanks.
Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate your point about the trustee time, which was part of this. Just wanted to answer Councillor Julik's inquiry on the movie nights. They did several movie nights where there was basically no attendance, like single digits. And they tried different styles of movies, and every time you do one of those nights, it's a bunch of trustee time, which they're willing to do. But for not enough attendance and not enough concession sales and not enough tickets, it was simply decided that it wasn't worth it. So as a counter to them willing to do these things, they are. It's not easy to engage the youth right now. They have big screen TVs at homes with streaming whatever they want. So that particular concept didn't work. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the trustees are trying. And I can't imagine taking this away over what we're discussing. And that's just reinforcing my earlier point. So thank you. I just wanted to answer your question.
Councillor Julik.
Yeah, and I understand the movie night's not happening. My point, or what my concern was, is they stopped doing the movie nights and didn't replace it with something else. For me, I think that the youth center needs to be more than just a place where the kids come and hang out. I think that they can do that. I appreciate that they have that safe place, don't get me wrong, like I understand that there's that. What I'm saying is that when this funding first started going to the Youth Services Society back in the day, their funding was increased based on the idea that they would be able to offer more things. And I see things happening, when you see what's happening at the community center, for example, the stuff that goes out about what's happening. Like, I've seen this Trora poster I don't know how many times in the last while, the volunteer appreciation night, things like that. I don't see them reaching out to the district to maybe advertise some things that are going on there. They do have a staff member at TRIS versus another fully volunteer organization to apply for grants. And there's a policy that we have, and to me, when council makes policy, we expect other organizations to follow their policies, and so to me, I think we need to start making sure that we're following ours. I feel that since I've been on council, we waive policy more often than I've ever seen policy waived before. The policy's there to give us some guidance when it comes time to do these things. And I agree, being late on 3 payments isn't, or 3 documents isn't the end of the world. My concern is that if we don't start setting a standard and expecting that standard, then what's to stop all the other organizations that have a fee for service? Well, the youth center doesn't do it, so what's the big deal if we don't? And so we have staff making phone calls to these organizations to say, hey, where's your paperwork? And then we aren't supporting our staff and saying, because then we say, oh, not a big deal. Well, then our staff is in the tough position of having to either just swallow and say, okay, or enforcing the policy that we as council put in place. So I think that we have to, it's not about, if I really wanted to penalize the Youth Services Society, I wouldn't be supporting any funds. And that's not the case. For me, what I'm saying is okay, let's do this one more time and see what we can do. I don't think it's against any policy that they could come in and say, how can we work with the staff at the community center to make some of these other things happen? Like, what can we do? That the climbing wall gets used. I don't know how often that happens, and that was in there, and I don't imagine that was an inexpensive thing to put in there. What can we do to maybe could we get some of the old chairs from the district and put in some new furniture there? There's those things, and when I see that they want new furniture and things like that, then yeah, how do we create some excitement around it? And I'm not saying we shouldn't work together to make that happen. I'm just saying that this to me is saying to the board, let's do something more. Let's do this and figure out how we can. I think it's really important, though, again, I just want to go back to the policy stuff. I think it's important that we stay on that.
Thank you. Going to make one comment, and then I am calling the question. The comment would be, it doesn't sound like we're against the policy. We're not putting a motion forward to change the policy. It sounds like the policy is now being followed, as it sounds like we withheld the last payment because of the quarterly thing. So the policy is being forwarded. We're not trying to waive policy in here. So I just want to make sure that's clear, because you talked about policy and we waive, but we're not waiving no policy here. The amendment on the floor is to do a 1-year fee for the TR Youth Service Society. I am going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Dussault, Councillor Hoffman, Councillor Norbury, Mayor Cutler opposed. Motion is defeated. The motion that is on the floor for discussion is that council approve a 3-year fee for service application for the TR Youth Service Society. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Cutler. A lot of our discussion kind of encompass what we're going to talk about in this one, but I'm still in favor. I support our Youth Services Society. You know, when you look at what they're doing down there for the cost they're giving us, you know, I think we're getting a heck of a bargain. You know, I think it's also important for us to recognize that this was district run. And like a lot of things, it went back to volunteers because we get a lot of value through our volunteers. They're our connection with our community to help guide what's going on. Also saving us a bunch of money rather than us having to have another manager to manage another organization, because there's only so many things you can take on before we need more staff to cover it. So, you know, when I look at like $40,000 a year with a 5% increase, like, that's a heck of a bargain. And these guys, I mean, this organization, I think if we try and comment on their financial responsibility and reporting, they didn't ask for funds in 2023. You know, so obviously I think they are aware of where this funding comes from. It's taxpayers' dollars. They are putting it to good use. You know, we talk about where can kids go? Well, if they don't have a youth society to go to, I know where they're going. They're going to the bush. Or they're going to go out and cause problems because they don't have a place to go. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. But I would hope that we can come up with actuals for this organization. Because I remember last year talking with the Youth Services Society. We want more. What more? That's the worst thing I think we can do to any organization, department. We want you to just do more. Well, what more? We have to give them specifics. What do you want? Do you want more hours in the summertime? Let's say that. $5. Free lunch on Amber. Sorry, back on track. Back on track. See, now I'm off. Here we go. Back to the, like, what are they doing? You know, idle hands. If they don't have a place to go, they're going to find things to do. And I know teenagers. Sometimes what they're going to go do is not productive in our community. So that's why I support it, and I will continue to support the Youth Services Society. Thank you.
Thanks. We got myself and then Councillor Julich. Just going to make comments here, and I think the districts, from the district side, it started in the previous council getting together with all the non-for-profits, and I think that'll assist as the Youth Service Society sits there and all the other organizations to help advertise for them, to help give them ideas. You know, like, I mean, again, we got volunteer board. I'm pretty sure there's an individual that sits on that board and 3 others. So they only have so much time, and I mean, you got to come up with ideas and try to figure it all out. And then we talk about, you know, well, the youth have big screen TVs in their house, so that, you know, there's not really engagement. Well, maybe that's something this, as council, we get together and do an engagement with our youth. Call it pizza night. Find out what they want. Tell them how it can work at the youth center. If they put some ideas together, what can happen, as long as it's not something that is a huge cost factor, as obviously they're going to get approved for this for wages and stuff. But there may be other things, other avenues the youth come up with that can be covered through grants or something like that. If there's something else they're looking for, but I think this is an opportunity. I mean, Councillor Julich has brought it up a few times, pizza night, whatever, and maybe that's the direction we need to do. You know, we have Let's Talk in regards to residents within the community, and obviously youth and children can also come out to Let's Talk. It's not just for adults. Nowhere does it state it's only adults only. Children can come ask us questions as well. But to me, maybe we need to hit the marker and follow what Councillor Julich's mentioned in the past. I think we've left it off the table. But, you know, further on in the agenda, it talks about let's set dates for Let's Talk. Maybe let's set a date for youth engagement. Do a pizza night or whatever we staff thinks would help draw in the youth of the community and to me, children as well. You know, maybe we need to have ice cream, the longest ice cream sundae down the hall of the community center. I don't know. Anything to get to youth and children out to see what they need. To me, again, I don't want to just use another organization while we're debating fee for service, but you look at the library. They offer multiple things, the reading club, the Dolly Parton, they have all this stuff. So can we lean on some of that? I won't say it's based for the younger children. It's based for anybody that happens at the library. The reality thing, what's it called? Virtual reality. Thank you, virtual reality. So you look at that, is there something that we could, that the youth center, when you get engaged with them, and then obviously the liaisons and the appointed people that sit on these boards take back to the library board and say, hey, listen, we had this meeting and virtual reality, can we do a youth night at, 10 o'clock at night, they want to come in and have this. I don't know, leave it up to the youth, but I think a pizza party, so. Councillor Julich.
I appreciate the pizza party. I'll absolutely be making a motion. I was going to do it after this motion. I've never known it to not be for the youth center. I've been here for 14 years and I've not known it to be run by the district. I was wondering if Councillor Norbury could tell me when it was run by the district.
Ms. Scott? I don't know the date, but it was run by the municipality.
I do not have that information.
No big deal. I just was curious.
Yeah, I don't know the date, but I know it was talked about previously.
And I guess I would also say that we do have a lot of other things for the youth to do in our community. We have the library, we have sports programs that are going great guns at the schools, we have the pool, we have basketball court, we have all of those things. So I don't think, I appreciate where Councillor Norbury is coming from. I agree that I think it is a niche group as well. I would also like to say to Mayor Kakauka's point that it's volunteers. The board is a volunteer. It's a governance board. They have staff. They have a staff member who can do these things. And they could be interacting in the youth center with the youth to say, what is it that we can do and make those things happen? I'm just saying that if you can't tell somebody what it is that you think that you expect more of, and as Councillor Norbury said, like to say we want you to do more, my more is to have more interactive programs. Like I could definitely list those things off. So I appreciate what he has to say, what he had to say about that, because he's absolutely right. So for me, they have a staff member, and so the big part of this grant is for wages. And so those are the pieces that I would like to see repaired, and that is why I won't be supporting the 3-year fee-for-service, because I believe, I don't know how else to get that information or that message through as a previous board member and having the conversations that we had last year.
Yep, appreciate your comments, and, you know, I'm well aware that it's labor and they have an employee. I mean, I look at staff in the room as well, no disrespect to our staff, but how many hours do they volunteer? Because they're not all paid all year long to be attending these meetings or these other sessions. I would think it's the same thing for these organizations. And all organizations, like anybody that's been, whether they're on this agenda tonight or not, there's still volunteer hours there. So I'll be supporting the motion, but I understand what you're saying, that there is an employee, and I wasn't leaving that out of the conversation. Well aware, but I mean, you can only do so much with the hours you're paid for, and I think they probably volunteer a lot of hours. And, you know, I think sometimes when we look at it and we try to do this engagement thing later when we talk about Let's Talk, we can add it in there. Maybe that's an opportunity. I think we've missed it, we've talked about it and never ever did it, so maybe that's left up to us. Okay, the motion on the floor is that council approve a 3-year fee-for-service application for TRU Service Society. Going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Julich is opposed. Motion carries. Taking, and I apologize for the people in the gallery, but taking a 5-minute recess. We're going to call the meeting back to order. Going to take the third recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana?
The council approved the Tumbler Ridge Public Library 2025 operating budget request of $447,480.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. Discussion? I don't really have anything to discuss. I mean, obviously, we had a delegation. They've heard it from us already. I think it's really important that we do hear back in regards to the trustees coming forward every year, whether we put that into a policy or something like that, so that it's not waiting for an ask from council to come forward. I think it's really important to hear what their updates are. Again, I'm just going to mention the amount of stuff that they're doing over there. Again, I don't attend the library. Paula probably doesn't see me in there much, but I definitely talk to a lot of the children that come in to my business, and the stuff they're doing and the stuff they come in with after the TD reading club and stuff. And the children are excited and happy and stuff. And I think it's really important that we make sure that stuff is there for those younger children, the younger youth that want to participate in those programs that are happening at the library. Councillor Noberry?
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. Yeah, I totally agree with the sentiments that you're saying. You know, we just talked about our last budget item, and we talk about youth. We talk about kids. You know, the library encompasses youth, kids. You know, I know my mentality, and I learned this through, you know, library training was, you know, they're there to serve everyone and to help everyone exceed, to achieve what they need to do in life to get to the next level. And when we look at social infrastructure, which is a very hard thing to define because it's intangible. It isn't hard like a building or a road, but it can play an even bigger part in people's lives. And this is the biggest, most important piece of social infrastructure that we have in our community. If we don't have it in our community, people would absolutely know. You know, looking at library statistics, every dollar you put into a library saves $8 in future spending because of the loss of the social programs that this organization provides. So it raises property values in our community. And I know we're definitely not at the discussion about cutting the library. Like, that's absolutely not even the discussions. I just want to highlight the intangible things that libraries bring to communities. And, you know, it's called Canada's living room for a reason. Thank you.
Thanks. I got myself and then Councillor Julich. You know, we mentioned children and youth, we both did it, but look at the seniors, the adults. I mean, I know when we had mechanical issues within the community center and had to be shut down for a spell there, you know, the amount of people that were in conversation about, you know, doing resumes, how do I do this, need my computer fixed, and problems with my phone. I just sent them to the best individual I know to help them out, because it's not something that I can do in regards to, I'm not tech savvy enough to help people out when it comes to their phones or laptops. But that's what I mean. We talk about what they have to offer for our youth and our children, but there's huge offers there for our seniors and our adults and the people that need help in regards to social programs to get onto it and such like that. And I also believe this may be an opportunity for council at the UBCM. And as a start, to me, I think we've built a really good dialogue with a lot of the ministers, staff. And I think it's really, really important. We always go there for ask. And, you know, don't get me wrong, Geopark's important, the museum's important, all that's important. But we've never asked, hey, listen, we're taking on all your social programs for you in regards to the government's supposed to be offering. Why don't you throw in some dollars to our library? They're already doing it for you. Sure, I know other organizations do come up for a day here and a day there. But when they're not here, it's the library. It's the front end staff that are dealing with it. Maybe this is an opportunity that we keep that on the radar further on in the agenda, that we start asking, maybe there's something out there that we're missing that we've never dialogued with ministry or ministry staff. Then maybe there is an opportunity there that there could be some funds that they could backslide in, as the library is already doing a lot of these social programs, or helping people get onto the certain programs, or finding those programs to assist. I think it's something important that we think about. It's something I never thought about until Councilor Noberry mentioned social programs. And then the people that came into my business talking about, you know, they have cell phone issues, laptop issues. I need a resume reprinted and redrafted. Well, you can print it here, but I have no way for them to draft it on my computer. It's fairly tough for them to do it through mine. Send them to the town hall, that's all you can do. But I think that's important to think about when we go to the UBCM. I think maybe we've missed an opportunity within the municipality as elected officials this term, but previous terms as well, not realizing that maybe there's a scope there that we could look at We always hammer the tourist minister about funds, and we always get, they don't have an open blank check. Maybe there's some opportunities with other ministers. So I think that's something we should keep on our radar and have that ask. Councillor Julich and then Councillor Norbury.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I never thought about that either. You guys kind of stole my thunder. I wanted to say the same things that both of you said. The other day before I was heading to my meeting at the library, I was thinking it's not just about books in our community. And I was fortunate enough to be able to work at the library and to see all the things that they do. And you are absolutely right. Because we don't have any social, we don't have a Work BC thing or anything like that, and the library definitely picks up those pieces. The staff there do a really great job of connecting the seniors. I know when Councillor Norbury was working there and I was working there, the amount of people who just knew to come in and talk to him about things. Lottery numbers, as a matter of fact, is one of the patrons. Oh, I probably am speaking out of turn now. I'm looking at the librarian if I'm going to be in trouble. Somebody would come in to ask for lottery numbers and stuff, and so I know that Councillor Norbury grew some really great connections there with the folks, and I'm sure he's being missed now. So yeah, I just wanted to take my turn to say that we have a pretty amazing library, and I thought that the presentation was great, and I hope we can continue to find some trustees to be on their board and have a good year this year there.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. Wanted to cheerlead for the library a little bit more. The ask for more funding from the BC government, I fully agree with you. There has been a movement at UBCM every year asking for more funding, and every year it gets shot down. I actually went to one of their sessions, and it was like the first session in the morning. So of course nobody's there, right? It's 7:30 in the morning. Well, of course they're going to shove the library trustees down there, and they have buttons. So maybe this year we get out there, we put up buttons, and I think it was like $25 million. And I think the government and some vocal minority people are always looking for a way to cut, and they see these social services as a way to cut, except it's kind of like they're cutting off the nose to spite their face, right? Like, people need these services. And we talk about providing services for individuals. Yes, the library staff there absolutely do that, but I want to highlight something that is recognized in the provincial level about the Tumbler Ridge Public Library is the one of the first, I think it's the first library to ever bring in Service BC and Service Canada. Like, that was in like the big presentation about what's great about libraries, and the Tumbler Ridge Public Library was cited there, and that was Paula's work specifically. These are the things that we absolutely need in our community because we don't have them. We don't have Service BC, we don't have Service Canada, and maybe we can advocate more for them from our level as well to say, hey, you guys need to come a little more often. There's a space at the library for you. Continue those relationships because we don't have those services, and we need them. Our community needs them because that's all we hear up and down the street, right? We don't have this, we don't have that. Of course, people complain about not having a Tim Hortons, but they definitely complain that I can't get my services card done or this and that done. Well, I mean, I go to Dawson, but did you know? So, anyways, I think absolutely we can do more for a library, and really. I'm trying to think of the word, compels, invigorates me, Mayor Kakaka, when you talk about being a strong advocate for a library, in that I've seen what that can do for a community. When the elected officials rally around a public library, it's amazing what they can do. Smithers is a perfect example, and that library is amazing for the size, and then our current library is amazing, and it can be even more if we just give them support, which we are, so thank you.
Thanks. Don't want to get into a heated debate. Just going to make a couple comments about the budget. That's kind of what we're supposed to debate, I guess, instead of giving it all and good things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the library did a great job in regards to proposing this budget that was put in front of us. When we talk about 5.2%, I just want to make sure it was really clear when we talked about it as a council, it was actually a 5.2% mandate across the board, not 5.2% increase per departments. I don't have an issue with the library budget. I can make that very clear. But the mandate was 5.2% across the board, not by department. Some departments cut, some departments increased, but it was a 5.2% hold. When I seen their budget, which again, I have no issues with the budget. I think they were very, very fruitful when they went through it. Obviously, but again, it was, try to hold, try to cut. So, I mean, I'm supporting their budget, but I just want to make sure that's very, very clear. I had the conversation with the CAO, obviously, about it, so I think it just needs to be mentioned for the amount of stuff that not only did council cut from their budget to get that mandate done, but so has staff in the room, and obviously the library tried their best, and I will be supporting their budget. Okay, gonna call the question. All in favor? Carried. 9.4, use of canoe for procurement. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Director of Operations and Infrastructure regarding the use of canoe for procurement. Recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That council approves the adoption of canoe procurement for municipal purchasing processes.
Seconder, Councilor Julik. Discussion. I don't really have a whole bunch. I know I was in and talked to Ms. Scott about it, and, we already use it in regards to our office supplies and stuff like that. I think this was the same thing I was talking about previously, and maybe it was a previous meeting we had, about looking at fleet regionally within PRD. To me, this does the same thing. If we can get a better bang for our buck, it's done this way, so I totally support. Any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Extreme weather events policy TR-57 adoption. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Director of Protective Services, Fire Chief regarding the extreme weather events policy TR-57 for adoption. Councillor Nuxena.
The council adopts the District of Tumbler Ridge Extreme Weather Events Policy TR-57.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. Discussion. I'm going to make a comment. Thank you very much for staff getting this in. This was never a staff holdup. This was done and held up by BC Housing. I want to make that very, very clear. I believe we have a reporter in the room. It'd be great to have that in our local paper. I believe it's been 4 months, or no, it's longer than that. February, 6 months, 7 months that we had waited for BC Housing to reach back to our fire chief and Director of Protective Services to be able to finish this policy. So it's, it's really bad when we see how long it takes to have government agencies connect. And every chance I get, I'm going to hold them accountable. So, going to call the question. All in favor? Perfect. Thank you. Carried. Okay, 9.6, let's talk date selections. Report dated March 3rd, 2025 from the Executive Assistant to Mayor and CAO. The let's talk date selection. Councillor Nuxena.
The council receives this report for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Nuxena.
Thank you. I think that we've heard and discussed very clearly that we would like to engage our youth. I've brought it forward before, but maybe this spring would be a great time to get a Let's Talk Youth edition or youth engagement of some sort. It doesn't have to be on this, maybe these dates in late June, maybe earlier in the year would work, but yeah, would love to hear other people's opinions.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make a couple comments. We definitely have to do something. This was a Councillor Julik idea. I definitely don't want to steal it. It's been talked about, maybe this pizza night. We got to do something. And we definitely got to add something. Maybe we need to put it to a PMP for the youth thing so we can come up with an idea and see where staff input could be from there. But I think it's very, very important that we do something for the youth, the children. Let's hear from them and such. When it comes to dates for Let's Talk, I would hope that maybe we could do something in May and not June. I'm not sure from council side, but I think we're getting a little late for the first one when it comes into June. I'm not sure how, I can't remember the dates for NCLJ or that. And then I know there's FCMs coming up, and I imagine staff will have those dates, including a Keep It Rule. Those are 3 conferences that I know of, Ms. Scott. Do we have the dates just handy before I go to Councillor Julik? Just so we can write them down. Yep. That's good. I think we might have them. Councillor Nuxena?
NCLGA is May 12th to 15th, and FCM is May 29th to June 1st. And then I believe Keep It Rules in June.
Yeah, it's later, well, not later, but it's the 12th, I think, or 11th, or something like that, to the 13th. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that week.
Close. Okay, so NCLJ, if it goes to the 15th, Calendar for me.
That's a Monday to a Thursday.
So we could look at the third week in May or the fourth week in, no, it'd have to be the third week. Or early for people for flying out to the FCM that are going. That would be my concept. Councillor Julich and then Councillor Hoffman.
I would actually like to see it earlier. Something that I think is important is to have community input into our budget. I know that we're putting it close for that, but I feel like having an open house around that. I've also been, I've had a few residents approach me about the fire hall, and I thought that that would be a good time just to have the information there if there are some questions people wanted to have. I understand we're putting it out for another bid. Some of the questions for me though is why do we even need one? So I think just getting that information out would be a good opportunity in one of our Let's Talk. But really the big part for me is I think that it's part of our mandate to have input within our budget. I was talking to Ms. Scott today, and it could be a tight fit to try and get one in before we have to have our third reading, but I think it's important if we can make that work that we do. I know that there's oftentimes I'm making choices about budget, and it's not necessarily something that I've had the ability to talk to somebody in the community about. So maybe we have people show up, maybe we don't. I think it could be a good year to start that and to maybe make it into a habit that we have the ability that public actually has some input and can come and ask us questions at a Let's Talk before we make our final budget or financial plan passing.
Yeah, just on that, all of our budget meetings are open and there's always time for residents to dialogue with them. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad to hear the consensus is that this is too late. I think a whole lot of residents are going to be gone around this time. It's the end of the school year. Listening to that list there, I'm not going to make the motion, but I think we can squeeze it in on June 10th, given what the other ones are there. And I don't want to push it too far forward. I want to have some time to develop what we want to do, whether this is a youth one or not. But I'm just throwing it out there for everyone to look at and see if they agree with June 10th as a possibility at 6 p.m.
Okay, Councillor Norbury.
I'm leaning towards May in May there, Councillor Hoffman. I think I'd like to do it earlier. The third week of May is good. Looking at the specific days, the 19th is Victoria Day, so likely we'll have a council meeting on the 20th. I think the 21st would be a prime day for me. I know Thursdays it seems everything happens for me on Thursdays, so Thursday's bad, and Wednesday is a good middle of the week day. So I would be in favor of May 21st. Thanks.
Councillor Dussault and then myself.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I forgot I put my button on. Yeah, I was also looking at earlier too. I was actually thinking April, but that might be too soon. That's something that I had brought forward to the CAO this morning when we had our agenda review, if maybe it would possibly be April, maybe the end of April, if that would work.
Okay. I'm putting a motion on the floor. I'm going to put a motion on the floor for the Let's Talk for May 21st, 2025. Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion, Councillor Julich.
I'm already committed on that day, which is what I wanted to say before you made the
Sorry,
motion.
that's good.
So I was hoping for the 14th.
NCLJ is to 12th to the 15th. Doesn't work.
If I'm running late, I'm running late then, because it's during the day. I'm just double checking.
Good?
Yeah, it'll work.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion in regards to doing Let's Talk on May 21st? 7 o'clock start, work for council? Well, I think we may be missing some of the industry workers though is the problem. So I thought I'm not sure what time we did last time, to be honest with you. I think it was 6 to 8. I think if we do 7 to 9, maybe it works better. Try something different, a little too late for some. You're good, Councilor Alexander? Good enough. Okay, 7 to 9.
9 to 12.
There you go. Okay, any more discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Ms. Scott, not to put you on the spot, but we talked last year about some of the Let's Talks we've done. I'm fine with the way we've done the ones lately, but previously we were having a conversation about maybe more some like staff tables involved, but you'd mentioned that maybe you had a different idea. Do you have a timeline for that? Like when, previously we used to have tables set up. We did one Let's Talk like that where, Public Works had a table, Protection Services had a table, ACTAV had a table, and they just talked about what they were working on, where we're going.
Yeah, so the idea was that during Local Government Awareness Week, which is the third week in May, that those are some of the things that we would be looking at holding during that week. The UBCM, they always have a theme for their Local Government Awareness Week, and they haven't announced their theme yet for 2025, so we've been waiting for that theme before we really work out the details. But we were thinking that that kind of departmental representation would be something that we could potentially do during Local Government Awareness Week.
Okay. Will the 21st hinder staff, or would staff maybe do 5 to 7? If they're going to do that third week in May, since we picked that week.
We can consider that.
Okay. Okay, appreciate the comments. Councillor Gillick.
I just wanted to confirm then the pizza party with the youth, we're gonna look at doing that after discussing it at a PPC meeting. Okay, perfect.
Put a motion, I'm going to put a motion forward that we add a youth engagement to the PMP. Seconder? Councillor Dussault? Discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, anything else in regards to Let's Talk date selection? I imagine we'll have it at a PMP just about some topics, but obviously budget will be one of them. Update from the previous Let's Talk and where we are at in regards to some of the questions that we had. Okay. Gate 9.7, preparation for ministry meetings at the 2025 UPCM convention. Report dated March 3rd, 2025, from the Executive Assistant to Mayor and the CAO regarding the preparation of ministry meetings in the 2025 UPCM convention. Recommendation, Councillor Noxena.
The council receives this report for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Noxena.
Thank you. I would like to, and I know they want us to prioritize, so this is not like a top priority, but we should have it on our radar to speak with the Minister of Environment and Parks about the state of some of the BC parks in our region. I visited a number of BC parks last summer, and there's some absolutely stunning ones with amazing maintenance, and then there's ones that have 5 years of blowdown on trails that are advertised as a BC park hiking trail. So to discuss maybe some standard of maintenance here in the north, or let these parks go and have them go to local organizations for maintenance.
Put a motion on the floor that we want that minister. I think that's what staff's looking for. We can come up with topics. Councillor Noxena.
Okay, I would like to motion that we request a meeting with the Minister of Environment and Parks at UBCM this fall.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Gillick. Discussion. Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Ms. Scott, or even council, sorry, I wouldn't even ask Ms. Scott, but maybe what we do is we come up with a list, and then at the next PMP, we come up with what we want to talk about. Gives council some opportunity to come up with some of the discussion items. We add them, obviously, top to the bottom, and go from there. Would that work for staff too?
Yeah, and so included in the package is that form that staff has drafted this year that we think can be a good tool. If council puts their meeting request ideas on that form, that can come to then a policies and a PPC meeting for council to then review and either agree with or not agree with or prioritize for when it comes time to make those minister meeting requests. Yeah, so I mean, it's staff's recommendation that for any of those meeting requests that council thinks would be relevant to use that form so that the rest of council can get all of that information and background as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kiyoko. I'll motion that we initiate a meeting with the Minister of Health.
Minister who, sir?
Minister of Health.
Health, yep. Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Counselor Julik.
I was hoping that staff could send us a file of that form. Like, I know it's in this package, but if they could send me whether it's a PDF or a Word document specific to the form that Ms. Scott was just talking about to my email.
Yep. Yep, or I can scan them and send them to you. They're right here. Scan and send them to you.
print any, I take mine online.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just saying we could just scan them to you. Counselor DeSoto and then Counselor Nober.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I would like to make a motion that we also see the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport.
Okay, seconder. Counselor Norbury, all in favor? Sorry, no discussion. Okay, Counselor Norbury.
It's okay, I didn't want to discuss, I'm in. I'd like to make a motion that we meet with the Minister of Education.
Okay, seconder. Counselor DeSoto, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Oh, okay, gotcha, understood. Sorry, a little slow. I'm gonna put a motion forward that we meet with Ministry of Energy, Mines, and Low Carbon Initiatives. Seconder, Counselor Norbury. Discussion? Counselor Noxena?
The Minister of Mines is separate from that now.
No, he's still low carbon. The other one's the Energy Minister. Adrian Dix is Energy Minister,
Okay.
I think. Maybe I'm wrong. It changes. We'll make sure we get the right one. Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Council Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor. I motion that we meet with the Minister of Forests.
Seconder. Council Julik. Discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Council Julik?
This will be a favorite for Mayor Kakalka. I make a motion that we meet with BC Housing.
Yeah, I'll second that. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Council Norbury?
Make a motion to meet with the Minister of Transportation.
Seconder. Councilor DeSoto. Discussion? Not saying we don't meet with them. Totally fine meeting with them. I'll be honest with you. I meet with the regional Minister of Staff of Transportation out of Dawson Creek yearly. We get way more out of them than we do from the minister. That is how we ended up with the highways being cleared on both sides. Was having conversations with them and adding it. Don't take me wrong, it did help meeting with the minister and talking about, I was hoping that they would be able to add some budget dollars to it. But they were, that's where it's so good talking to the regional, and to me, we still meet with the minister, but just so council's aware that I have those meetings with regional ones. We do get lots of things, so if there is something that you're triggered on, just send me an email. And I know it's the roadways, it's the whip-de-doos, it's all that. So the last conversation that Ms. Scott and I had with the regional out of Dawson is they are supposed to be putting in, Ms. Scott, do you remember what it's called? Me either.
We talked about a lot of things.
But they're gonna, monitoring. They're gonna put in 2 monitoring stations along the roller coasters, whip-de-doos, whatever you wanna call them. They know it is sloughing. They need to get some readings off it to see, what time of year it's sloughing worse than the other times of year. I said it's happening all year long, but, I know I just traveled the highway, last week and again on the weekend, and I do not see it. So I've sent an email just asking if I may be missing the monitor stations that they talked about installing. And maybe they're that small, or maybe they're, I don't know, in the culvert, I don't know. But I did ask where they're at, so. Councilor Norbury? Getting late.
Just start running through.
Getting late.
Yeah, fair enough. So I think my only comments there, I'd still like to meet with them.
Yep.
As it's always a useful thing. It's one of our few opportunities, but yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to having it having it lower on the list if we have to prioritize. So that's my comments there. Thank you.
Call the question, all in favor? Carried. We should probably meet with the Ministry of Citizen Services. Would be my thought in regards to some of the conversations we just had about maybe some funding. Seconder, Councilor Noxena, all in favor? I hope you didn't want to discuss that.
I did.
Cool.
Is that the one that you were wanting to talk to in regards to, like the library taking on as much work as they do? Is that the citizen services?
They would be part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd be part of that. And like I said, there's not gonna be no guarantee that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I think it's something we missed. I mean, I've been on a council now, I think 10 years or 10 and a half years, and I'll be honest, it's not something we ever talked about. But when it came up, when Council Norbury mentioned about the social program, it just triggered in my head, like, we have a really, really good, okay, we for sure have a really good relationship with most ministry and staff, not all. I've built some really, really good relationships in the last few years with a lot of the minister staffs and their chiefs of staff. This may be an opportunity that, you know, we always ask for something. Maybe this is something we actually get to come back with besides, you know, the sides of the highways being cleared and Ministry of Forest doing their re-look at the forestry around Tumbler Ridge, 2.5 kilometers outside of what the Fire Smart Coordinator that's doing that was been hired by the Protection Services Department. So we're about 5 kilometers around the community, and then the RFP is closed. They're going to be looking at some mitigations there. So that is also some other things that we did get out of the UBCM, which is really, really important to make sure that's noted. So, but yeah, I think that's what's important. Hope I called the question already there. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'll motion that we meet with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, which is what the library is under.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. I mean, maybe we should have asked if there was a ministry that we did not want to meet with. Might have been the easier question.
BC assessment.
I'm pretty sure we did fairly good last year with BC assessment. I'm going to make that comment for sure. Another one we should maybe meet with, and I think it's because of the culture awareness safety training that the DTR has started working through, pretty much coming to the forefront of ending that, where we're going to start taking some information to the public in regards to public being involved in some of it. But the Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, I think it's important to talk about it. PRD was the first municipality in the north to do it, northeast. My understanding, we're the second. I'm not sure where we stand within the whole province, but I think maybe we should have a conversation. So, seconder, Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Okay, is that good for now? From council? Okay. Yeah, and we can come back to this. I think we'll get these scanned for Councillor Julik. Gives you an opportunity to read what ministry they're actually take care of and what all their headers are for now. Because some things have been moved around. There is a certain ministry, and I was trying to look through her, but she reports right under Premier Eby. So she was a huge help in regards to the BC housing complex on Chamberlain in regards to not having a permit. They were talking about sending out information already to our residents. They're going to tear them down and do all this. So I think it's worth talking to her. I'm just trying to find what ministry she was under, but we can grasp that later. But she does report directly under Premier Eby. I also think maybe this is an opportunity with the bonds that and we need to have the right ask for the right reason, but I think this may be an opportunity to also try to have a meeting with Premier Eby. We've had opportunities already where we've, got together and chatted with them and had, the pictures with the visitor information thing, but this may be an opportunity to reach out, whether that's in regards to social programs that our library puts on, and we need funding for it because it's not fair that the taxpayers of Tumbler Ridge pay for it all. It's time the province stepped up. I'm not sure what council thinks. Before I put the motion, is there any concern from council? Councillor Julik?
I think that, and as I just attended my first museum meeting, I think we cannot let go of the importance of how much our museum does and pays to preserve fossils and all of that stuff. So I don't know if we want to just go in, and I'm not saying that has to be the priority, but if we're going in with one thing, let's make sure that that's what we're going in with, or if there's possible multiple things. Because I know that you guys have worked really hard to get that funding with you making an extra trip and everything. I don't see that coming, and they are at the point where they're really running out, and you know this as well as I do. They're running out of room for those specimens.
Yeah.
And they're keeping them for the province of BC.
Yeah, and I think that's we've already put the tourism minister on. That's her mandate.
Okay.
That's their mandate. That's that ministry's mandate. As we talk about it at the PMP, maybe we can have some broader discussion on how we do it. Maybe it gives an opportunity for myself and Ms. Scott to reach out to them and have a little bit of dialogue. Maybe they invite other individuals, BC Fossil, staff. Maybe there can be more open dialogue like I had when I went to Victoria to see what they can do. That would be my thing. I think when we go, if council's okay with putting that out there while meeting Premier Eby, is having that ask, you know, and I look at social programs. I'm not saying that's the only one right now. It gives us a week to think about it. There may be others, but, you know, when I look at the budget, it's not, you know, they've done a great job. The library's done a great job, don't get me wrong. But is there some funding that, you know, there's things they're not doing for sure. When I look at back in my budgets, on some of the budgets that were proposed for the library, and then we've cut it. We cut it here, we cut it there, then we added a bit this year, and now we're stabilizing it here. But, you know, I've sat on councils where we've cut their budget. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do to sit up here and cut budgets knowing what they offer and what they do. But is this an opportunity for the government to come in and help us offset some of that funding? I'm not saying it's going to change our $490 next year or $495 next year, but it increases their amount where they can go do some other stuff. That's all I'm looking at. Councillor Huffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to answer your question. I don't see any reason to cut out any suggestion from tonight. We're going to go through a process of what is our ask, and then we're going to prioritize. So if you got something for the Premier, I'm all ears.
Okay. Put a motion on the floor that we look to request a meeting with Premier Eby. Seconder, Councillor Julich. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, I think we're probably good for now. Council? Yeah, okay. Everybody seems to be yes. Okay, 9.8 is the public statement. So I was away on holidays. I did receive some text messages and such in regards to what happened in Fort St. John at the Treaty 8 building. And I think this is an opportunity that council may support a public statement coming from the district. There's some templates, there's some samples of other communities that have done it already, and I think, you know, I think we allow staff to have a look and do it. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor that council directs staff of the District of Tumbler to make up a official public statement to condemn all forms of racism, discrimination, and hate speech. Seconder, Councillor Julich. Discussion? Councillor Julich.
Just want to say thanks for bringing the motion forward. I think that we as leaders of our community need to take a strong stand on things like this, so I appreciate you bringing it forward.
Thanks. Councillor Nober.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. It's important to nip these things in the bud, so to speak. And what happened to the Treaty 8 building is it hurts your soul seeing people that have that mentality and the brazenness to think that it's acceptable in this society. So I'll absolutely support it, and I'll absolutely support it when it comes to this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dussault.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I totally agree. What happened to that building, it's deplorable. It's not acceptable. So I totally stand behind this.
Thank you. Okay, just not that I want to put staff on a timeline, but I'm going to have this in front of council at the PMP. Normally, we do not fully approve things. It usually gets approved to the regular meeting. I am not going to be looking for that from council. I'll be looking for approval that night. I think it's important that we get the statement out. Apologize as a way. I think if I was in town, we could have had something out sooner to see what was done there. And it's not just there, and it's not just Indigenous racism. It's racism in general. I think we are past that, and I think, you know, I look at the training that we've taken with that safety culture awareness training. Staff has been part of it. I think it's very, very important that we lead, and we're the leaders of that. When I was sent those pictures, I think I landed pretty much just as I received them, and pretty close. I flew out just before Delta airline had crashed on Toronto. We were delayed, so when I landed, of course, we seen that, and then these pictures, and I reached out to some folks through the nation, Soto, West Mobley, Doig River, just to make sure they knew that I'd seen it, and that when I get back, we would bring something forward in front of council. So I think it's important that when we believe in something and that we've worked so hard to do this training to make sure that we are open to all within our community, that as leaders that we really, really show that within our own community, but within the region, but also within Canada. You know, we're seeing more and more of that hatred. And it really bothered me. I appreciate the people that sent it to me, just so I had an update. Councillor Julich.
Just so I'm clarifying, what you're asking for is for the letter to go forward. It's not coming back to us to approve it.
No, it'll be at the PMP. It'll be,
Oh.
so we'll see it. I'll be honest, I don't want, I mean, I could have wrote something from the mayor's office. I don't think that was appropriate. I believe this is from the municipality as a whole, and I think we should all see it, make sure that there's nothing that we, you know, I mean, whether I'm work with Ms. Scott, but if we miss something, or maybe we worded it wrong. I just want to make sure council's happy with it before it's signed and sent out.
Oh, okay, because I was just gonna say, I'm quite confident in.
I'm confident in Ms. Scott
staff's
for
ability,
100%.
so I don't have a problem with it going out before it come to PPC, I just, yeah.
It'll probably take,
Okay.
it's not like staff has all the time in the world, so it'll take a bit of time. Again, most of them are volunteering, so take them a bit of time to do it. And I don't want to push that other workload away while they do it, so. Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Schedule of meetings. From council side, is there any, anything that sticks out there? Councillor Julik.
I'm just curious as to, we're just doing a reading on the 17th, is that why we only have 30 minutes for a budget?
I'm assuming, I'm not sure what's in our schedule. We'll see when it comes forward. I guess it depends on where we're at within the budget. Ms. Scott? I'm just guessing. It all depends. It's on March 17th, 4:30 budget.
Yes, the intention is to give the financial plan bylaw 3 readings.
Yeah, depends where we're at. Okay, anything else from council? And if we need more meetings, we'll add them if we have to. Councillor Hoffman?
On April 14th, that 2 meetings scheduled at the same time. I'm just wondering what's going on there.
Yeah, I had the same thing marked. Ms. Scott?
The budget meeting would be to just adopt the financial plan, so just the assumption is that that should not take a significant amount of time before we move into the policies and priorities committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, nothing else from council? There's nothing from staff in regards to anything we're missing on there?
No.
So I just noticed volunteer thing is not on our calendar. I know we talked about it so we don't miss them. Just it's all good, just, if we can, and it's tough. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not sure how the rest of council feels, but I know, and I'm not expecting to be led down the golden path here, I guess I want to say, but sometimes if it doesn't get into my calendar, I end up booking or triple booking myself. So if they could just be added in our calendar, because I'll add it from here, but that'd just be greatly appreciated. Okay, any notice of motions? Okay, councilor business, thanks, Councilor Julik, Councilor Dussault, and anything from the floor. Councilor Nuxon.
Thank you. I attended the DELEGATIONS AGM last week, maybe? It's kind of a blur at this point. They've elected a new board. One of the biggest notes from the AGM was they had almost 2,000 hours volunteered last year. So that's trail maintenance, grooming, ski trails, things like that. So congrats to the board and the volunteers for the DELEGATIONS.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Councilor Dussault?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I attended the PRD meetings on behalf of the mayor. I would first of all want to thank them very much for making me feel very welcome there. It was very nice. It was nice to see some new faces and some faces that I already know. One of the biggest takeaways that I got was in regards to their, let me take my glasses off so I can read better. It was a deferred resolution in regards to a healthcare scholarship. And it's going towards the South Peace First Nations Primary Clinic. And it was brought up again, you know, why is the PRD paying for this when this should be like a provincial thing? So I found that very interesting. It is available on their website. If you look in their agendas packages, you can find all the information there. And of course, the next day was budget, so that will be coming forward as well soon. So you'll see all the wonderful information there.
Thank you. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. They're probably happy to see someone in person, because I only went virtually. So good for you for driving out there. I had 3 meetings I need to report on. First off is the South Peace Health Services Society. Wanted to announce that we secured our funding for another year for the Baltus House. Outstanding. You know, I would say the majority of that work has been done by the society. No, I'm kidding. Mayor Kakalka has been a huge advocate for us, and I've sent out multiple meeting requests, and, Mayor was able to make it happen. So thank you, Mayor Kakalka, for all your efforts there. Also, Larry Neufeld spoke on the legislative floor about the Boltry's house today. He had 2 minutes, and he used that time to talk about the Boltry's house. Last month was one of our busiest months yet. We had 23 people stay there for a total of 60 nights, so we're doing great there. The other meeting I attended was the community forest, and we had a presentation from Trora about what's happening. Dr. Iffy came in to sort of explore partnership opportunities through the clinic. Nothing was presented at that time. He just wanted to come in and introduce himself. Brian from the DTR Wildfire Branch came in to talk about the controlled burn. There's no planting expected for the community forest this year. That's not saying that it won't happen, but we're going to be planting 700,000 trees the year, like next year, which is going to be a sizable amount. So, then the last meeting I attended was a health task force. We had a great representative from the Dawson Creek Hospital Foundation. They are going to be creating a I wouldn't say sub-organization, but they're going to be getting grants for Tumbler Ridge. So anything that comes from Tumbler Ridge in terms of sponsorship will go back to Tumbler Ridge. And after speaking with the individual, I suggested, well, maybe you need a board member from Tumbler Ridge to help facilitate that funding to Tumbler Ridge. And they're open to the idea. So we're going to hopefully see something in the future about that. We spoke almost the entire meeting about doctors' wait times. And it is a tough conversation to have because the doctors are like they're killing themselves out there, and they're not getting a lot of respect from the community because, I think there's a bit of a communication gap there. So, but saying that, one of the asks I put forward at that meeting was to create an awareness campaign to the community about what's available at the health clinic. I was not fully aware that there's walk-ins available at the health clinic. It's not available at all times. Because it's not like they have a doctor dedicated to walk-ins, like, we have a walk-in doctor. It's not like that. It's not for your prescription refills. It's not for long-term care with your doctor. I can't facilitate that. But there are options. If you have something emergent that's not ER worthy, but you still need to see somebody, there's options there. And they fill up quick, so you have to get in there quickly. But make people aware of that. Because one of my big issues I hear from the community is that, well, I don't have to go to the ER, I have a broken arm, but I have like this minor ailment or this minor issue that can't take 3 weeks, 6 weeks, what's out there. And so, we're working on that because it's a tough thing because it's not always available because of the way it's structured with the doctors. So anyways, I've asked that we sort of create that awareness campaign of what's available and then proper use of those assets because, it's a challenge. And one of the things that I heard, and I'll share, is that, somebody comes in 10 p.m. at night, we get a doctor who is already working 60 hours a week, has to come in because their issue that they've been struggling with for 3 months came to a head today. And maybe they should have came in earlier, right? Anyways, I'm not saying it's an issue. I think it's something that we can work as a community to work on. So, yeah, that's my update. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Julich.
I just wanted to bring to everybody's awareness, there's actually a fourth thing happening on March 8th, and it is the Fire Smart presentation by our Fire Smart employee between 2 and 5 downstairs at the Vic.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from councillor for councillor business off the floor? Just a couple things. I actually had a fairly easy couple weeks there. I was in Dominican, so yeah. So I did attend the community forest meeting. That was well done. The community fire smart coordinator definitely had some information there I think was really important. So it was great to see that he could attend there and just give his side of the update and getting out within the community, trying to make sure everybody understands what the concept is with the Fire Smart Coordinator for one, but possibly the concept of doing some controlled burns within the municipality. I think it's very important that people are aware and why we may do it or may not. It's all going to depend on weather and BC Wildfire Service and our own local volunteer fire department. I think it's really important. I want to give a couple pats on the back to staff. Surprise, surprise. But in case people haven't seen it, the Ridge report that's coming out on Facebook. We get hard copies. I think it's really important that staff's doing it. I was in and talked to Ms. Scott today about it. I think it's great. Lots of information in there. And the other thing that I noticed that staff has done is recognize the new businesses that have come to our community. And I think that's really important too. So thanks staff for that, because I think that's important for our residents to know that we do have some new business coming to the community. And I think it's really important to make sure it's out there. So again, I appreciate all of council, especially Councillor Dussault, for attending a few busy meetings at the PRRD. Yeah, I was able to get away for a week, so it felt good. Councillor Julich.
While we're passing out kudos, I just want to say that I have noticed in a big way the posts on the District of Tumbler Ridge Facebook page. I think whoever's been in charge of that, they've done an amazing job keeping the community up to date on the things that are happening, can be happening, all those things. So, and another plug, the nomination period is open for somebody if they are wanting to become a counselor for a year and a half. So everything's at the front desk.
Thank you. Kate, resolution to close, sorry, my bad, my apologies. I try to skip this every time. No, I don't try to skip it on purpose. Question and answer period from the gallery. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. My name is Wayne Carpenter. We met the last time. I met some of the councillors as well in the interim or whatever. And first off, I want to say congratulations to all of you here, including staff members or whatever, but especially to council this evening, because that was an interesting debate that you had on some of the topics, and how you carried yourself was great. Let me just use single words here. I think George Cuff would have been really happy with what he saw in the performance this evening. There are a couple of questions that I wanted to ask that are on the agenda, and then I got to the point where I'm trying to still understand the procedures and such. I'm allowed one question and possibly a second question.
Possibly, yep.
Right? With that said, or whatever, again, I just want to stay on the topic of your conversation this evening here. It was really interesting to hear your support for the services in the community, like the library, like the trails, like parks, for example, and to hear that you're going out with a vision, let's call it that, of supporting those things. And not only supporting them, but questioning them at the same time, because you need to question a lot that's going on because of what's going on in our society today as such. But with that said, my question that out of the two that I'm allowed, I guess, or possibly three, I have to make a choice here, and on my choice, I think I was going to go with the procurement procedures under canoe, but I'm going to lead off with the question leading up to the what's going to be the recommendation or the adoption for the regional growth strategy. So I'm not sure, because only you would know, how much you read into it yet. I believe there's representation there, and if I had to look at some faces, I could probably put a finger to some of those people and say that you sat there during that process. But council as a whole, did you look at this right now, what's in it, and if so, you have to come up with recommendation to approve, to accept, or whatever, and pass it forward in such a short time period right now, March the 20th, by the time you get it out there. And there is great detail in there that you need to prioritize. So my question to council, if I may, through you, Your Honor, is whether or not there is a specific priority for each councillor or council as a whole on the goals of the strategic plan.
Yeah, so the growth, I'll just answer first before I go to council. So the growth strategy for March 20th, that is the first reading at the Peace Regional District, not in Tumbler Ridge. So that's our first reading there. And then it'll go out until April 10th for people to make comments. It'll go out to an open public forum. Just so you're aware of that. The March 20th deadline is for the regional district to actually approve it in the first reading. So the regional board, which I sit on, and my alternate is Councillor Dussault, there'll be a debate there whether we agree or disagree with what's in the regional report, growth report, either change wording or not, and then approve the first reading. Then it'll come back to this council, but it'll also be going out to public in the whole regional district. Yeah, but I'm not sure if anybody from Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Calco. So when they did the public engagement periods, like what they usually do is they put like these big poster boards at public locations. And they did that in our community center. And they would ask what your priorities are. And I'll be honest, my choice wasn't picked. It was wildfire. But, you know, maybe that's something that the mayor could take back. But I felt that wildfire mitigation, wildfire response is our #1 priority. Because all those priorities that they listed, those three, if things get on fire, it doesn't matter, right? But you have to weigh the risk reward there, right? What's the actual risk? How much reward are you going to get out of putting your time and energy there, especially when there's a ministry involved? So that's my comments if you're asking about what's important there. So thanks.
Councillor Julich?
Yes, I will be honest, I have not combed through it yet, and the dates that I took down was that April 10th is when it will come out to community, and then we all have 60 days to respond, one way or the other. And I believe it's in that period that we as a council will either show our support or deny our support. But I think April 10th is the date, so even you, like as a community member, can reach out and give feedback to that report.
Anybody else from council? So, okay, yeah, so, and just on that, if we do support it, we have to make an adjustment to our OCP. We'd have to have a statement in there in regards to it, to be in compliance. Trent, do you have any questions?
He stole mine.
Okay. Okay.
Just have one thing.
Yeah.
Not a question, but
Oh, it's gotta be a question. We are on short timeline and we have a big agenda still.
Councilor Drillick, I'll be sure to connect with Brian. He will be actually having a booth at the Troy Winterfest from 1 to 5. So we'll make sure that update goes to the community.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, take a resolution to close. I apologize, I'm not gonna do any more questions. I apologize. We just have a big closed agenda as well, so. Take a resolution for close, please. Councillor Noxena.
At the March 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting be closed to the public according to section 91E and J of the community charter to permit discussions about E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Second or Councillor so. All in favor? Carried. 5-minute recess or a couple-minute recess.